You're thinking about it. Jason's talking about it. There are no breaks on bold takes here. Buckle up. This is Drive Time with DeRusha. Now, live from Minnesota's biggest microphone, here's Jason DeRusha.
When hearing that heartbeat is a reminder that if you were not listening to Chad talking with our boss, our friend Brad Lane about his heart attack, right at the start of the Chad Hartman Show, right in the first hour, please check it out by podcast. Because there's a moment in that conversation where Brad, who was out at watching a basketball game, has a heart attack. And he talks about the first time he saw his family after he was rushed to the hospital. Just so emotional. And a reminder that on this day where we celebrate the luck of the Irish, there's a lot of luck out there, a lot of celebrating, a lot of moments to have. So check that out wherever you get podcasts. Welcome to Drive Time with DeRusha. It's Jason. Mark Fry's going to keep you up to date with the news. And Dan is here as well. We start with my sense that Me Too, and you know Me Too, the sort of calling out scummy men for terrible behavior, that Me Too has perhaps jumped the shark. And while I don't think we should ever stop calling men out for terrible behavior, are we in a society right now where you can never go on a date with, say, a former college professor of yours, or a former boss of yours, or even like a current supervisor of yours? 651-461-9226. I'm concerned for women who truly are being victimized by scummy men, that their messages are going to be ignored if we continue amplifying messages like the one that sort of blew up last night in Illinois. A woman telling her story about a guy who's running for the U.S. House in Illinois. Daniel Biss is a Democratic congressional frontrunner. And Daniel Biss was a math, TA, like a 26-year-old professor in 2004. And last night, a spokesperson, acknowledged an ill-advised relationship with a former student. And I don't know that it was that ill-advised, to be honest. Certainly, I don't think it was so ill-advised that 22 years later, you need to come confess the fact that your former professor, this guy waited till he was done teaching, and then he asked the girl out on a date, and they kissed. And they had a couple dates, and now 22 years later, she's like, oh, this was awful. Give me a break. I worry that we have turned normal behavior into tut-tut, that's inappropriate. You can't do that. And it makes me nervous to even talk about it because we've turned this topic into such a third rail that nobody can ask anybody out. You got to weigh the power dynamic at hand. How many of you, maybe that's what you guys should call in with at 651-461-9226. How many of you have ever gone on a date with a former teacher or someone who supervised you? Now, I have told friends who are CEOs that you cannot date anyone at work, right? Like if you're the CEO, there is a power dynamic at play that you sort of have to just say, look, I'm going to find love elsewhere. Here's what happened with this couple, not really a couple, but here's what she writes. It took becoming a professor myself to realize the implications, what it means to be attracted to someone who has categorically less power than you. This guy was 26. The former student was 20. They went on a handful of dates over the course of a couple weeks. He ended it because he was like, I don't know that I should be getting serious with a former teacher or a former student, which I would say was overly cautious on his part. She writes, after a few very intense evenings, he had second thoughts. It was wrong to date a student, of course, so we would have to stop making out. Of course, we could still hang out, and so we continued to spend time together in what to any external observer would look like dates until that stopped, too. Is this what the Me Too group intended? Think back to some of the disgusting behavior that, like, Matt Lauer was accused of, that Charlie Rose was accused of, that truly abusive men who were taking advantage of their power. So different from this. This is like to me, this is some of the normal part of life. Texter says, bunch of prudes. I think the intent here is good, to be sensitive of whether people are really consensually engaging in relationships, right? That's all. But do we want to live in a world where you could never date anybody at work? There's always going to be a power imbalance. Somebody always is maybe a little more of a star, has a little more of a future. Do you think, and I would categorize a teacher-student relationship, Dan, former student, and now I think it's different if you're talking high school, perhaps.
It's much different if you're talking high school.
Yeah, it's different. Unless you wait 10 years or something, and even then people are going to raise eyebrows at it. But I do think, like, high school is different. When you're looking at 20 and a TA who's 26, I don't know, man. Like, do we want to outlaw that as a society? Is that now, to a certain degree, he must have felt a little. Now, he is a professor at the University of Chicago, so, like, of course he felt like. But should he have? I don't know. I think isn't this a tale as old as time? You wait till the end of the semester. How many people are married because they met?
Well, yeah, but
you're so close in age.
Just because it's happened doesn't mean it should be happening.
Is it something that should or shouldn't happen?
If I was in a position of authority over somebody at any point, I wouldn't try to date that person.
Ever.
Nope.
Yeah.
And, that's easy for me to say, obviously, because I've never been in that scenario. But I can just see that look, there's a lot of people out there in the world. You don't need to poke this particular bear.
Which is fair, but, like, how many people end up dating somebody that they know from work or dating someone from school? It's because you're looking for connection. You have something in common. I know. And there was no, I get it. Your answer is for sure the safest way to go to make sure no one ever accuses you of anything. Right? Like,
I mean, that's one way to describe it. I would call it, in my mind, it's the wise way to go.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with that. Would I do it? I don't know, right? Like you're saying, I've never been in that scenario. Yeah. But he had no power over her at the time they went on the date.
Dated. Right.
And isn't that the idea? Like, make people...
It is, but if your relationship was essentially established as one where there was authority, how does that all manifest. I think you just set yourself up for so many issues going forward when you do that it just makes way more sense to say, no, sorry, that's a line, that's a boundary. I'm just not going to go there.
22 years ago is when this happened. I think the fact that they kissed, does that change it? That it was just they were on a couple dates. He ended it. To me, it sounds like this is, if you're a believer, that you never should kind of dip your nib in the company ink, essentially, then this worked out about as well as you could expect 22 years ago, that the guy felt like, maybe this is not the best idea, and he ended it. And now 22 years later to come out and write this long confessional on the eve of a primary election where this guy is the front runner, like, bleh.
I absolutely don't believe this particular situation is disqualifying for somebody to hold office. Especially, like you said, I think the fact that he realized the problematic nature of it and ended it. It was an unwise decision to ask her out in the first place, but that doesn't, one unwise decision 20 some odd years ago, I'm sorry, that doesn't disqualify him for office. I just,
and you have the right to tell your story, right? Everyone has the right to tell their story,
100%.
But I also have the right to say, like, give me a break. This was the moment that you bring this out? Benjamin on YouTube says, I don't understand what the story is. They were about the same age. What's wrong? It is this idea that I don't know that I fully agree with. It is this idea that if there is any power imbalance, which to me, if you're an assistant, if you're 26 and you're like a TA or an assistant professor, like I in the reporting is sort of unclear, like at 26, you're not a tenure. You got to be pretty close to a nobody at the University of Chicago, right? You're probably some level of a graduate assistant, but you're teaching the class. And the theory is if you have power, that even if someone consents, they can't fully consent because there's a power dynamic. Some of the reaction to this: left eats their own candidate with idiotic Me Too scandal. That is the right-wing Daily Caller reaction, which, it's hard for me to disagree.
We'll get them clicks for sure.
It's hard for me to disagree with that assessment. Have you ever dated someone in that power imbalance? Do you think it should just be off limits if you are a TA or a supervisor, that even if that scenario has come to an end, you should never do it? 651-461-9226. Drive time here on a Tuesday, on a cold Tuesday where we're watching for snow, too. We'll keep you up to date all afternoon here on CCO.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
J.H. and Sons at the Galleria in Edina would love to see you. It's Jason here from my headquarters for premium men's clothing. J.H. and Sons, they have done such a job. The Halberstadt family, which got started in St. Cloud 50-plus years ago. It's the next generation now, and they are really building a menswear store that is for today. Incredible suits. If you've got a wedding coming up, my gosh, get to J.H. and Sons at the Galleria. They've got a tailor right in-house, so you'll come and take a look at what they've got. You're ready, and you'll be the best-looking person at the wedding. Now, maybe you just need something for date night or something for a spring break trip that is on the horizon. And spring clothing has arrived big time at J.H. and Sons. Oh, so many great fashions for you to check out from some of the great people in fashion. When you go to J.H. and Sons, you're going to experience service the way it used to be when you go to a great men's store and they would take care of you. Feels good. You're going to love it. Go to J.H. and Sons. You can sign up for their email list. It's jhandsons.com.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
I do. If it's Barufka's 521 swivel glider chair.
The 521 swivel glider chair is Craftsman direct priced from $1927 or $81 a month for 24 months. So whether it's 6 a.m. or 11 at night, you'll fall in love with 521.
Oh, Jim. Barufka's, no gimmicks, haggling, or hard-to-understand pricing. In Woodbury, Burnsville, and Minnetonka.
Decidedly worth your time.
It's about time delivery worked on your schedule. Same day, next day, or scheduled in advance. However you plan it, the Home Depot delivers the whole job. From drywall to doors, plumbing to paint, we'll get it there when you need it. Because on the job site, timing is everything. You order, we deliver. It's that easy. The Home Depot Pro. It's about time.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
I got to sit through this schlock. And if I were a nice guy, I would say that it's dull and uninspired.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
22 years ago, a young math student went on a couple of dates with her former assistant professor of mathematics. He taught as a postdoctoral instructor at the University of Chicago. Now he is the leading candidate for U.S. House in Illinois. He's running for Congress. And, imagine that. Now, this woman is coming out telling her story. What we're talking about really is if Me Too has gone too far, if a power dynamic, even when that power dynamic is no longer at play, should be disqualifying for a relationship. Texters all over the place on this one, for sure. John says, current student, bad idea. Former student, calm down, Francis. That's sort of where I am on this. And especially because you're talking about college. Because you're dealing with people who are adults at that time. I think when you're talking about high school, it's just, for me, it's much more fraud. Texter, she was a former student. He had no power over her at the point they were dating. Another texter, wait until the end of the semester. As long as there's no quid pro quo, they're both of consenting age. She's being ridiculous, and this is coming from a female texting. Another texter says, compared to our president, I don't think any of us want to hold that as the standard for behavior, right? I don't. I do worry, though, about, look, generally speaking, I think the new understanding that we have of consent, of power, of appropriateness in relationships that has come after sort of what we called that Me Too era, man, I think it's been so good. I think it's been so good that, I don't know, I taught both of my boys all of this stuff, right? About consent, about being respectful, about understanding that there are times in life that you have a power dynamic. And if we're talking about former presidents, I do think today you would look at what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky, and you would say by today's standards, not only should he have been impeached, he should have been convicted. And I didn't think that at the time, but I 100% think that today. That there is no circumstance where that's an appropriate power situation. But I worry that if you can come back 22 years after being a 20-year-old student, going on a couple of dates not having sex, a couple of dates with kissing with your 26-year-old TA, I don't know, like it feels a little like revisionist history to me. That over the years, maybe you felt bad about it. Now, some are questioning the political motivation, right? Is she a Republican plant trying to torpedo his political aims? I don't know. I don't think that. And maybe I'm being too Pollyanna-ish, but I assume the best out of this woman, that she is legitimately sharing her truth and her hurt about how this went down. But I think if we turn everything into like, well, if you were a college professor, or what if you were like the more relatable circumstances, the workplace romance, right? So often you have people who are on the same level who begin a relationship and then someone gets promoted. And you're like, well, what do you do about that? Or you have a circumstance where someone is like one notch above in a different department, and so it's fine. You're like, we don't work together. We're in different areas. And then somebody gets promoted. You end up in the same thing. Well, now is there a power imbalance? I don't know. Like some of this is you have to take on a certain amount of personal responsibility for the choices you make. And 20 years later, you don't get to say like, well, this was a power imbalance. Well, you are a grown person. And he ended it. This also, and this is the other thing I was thinking about in this story, Dan, and people have the right to say whatever it is. You know, we all have access to the internet. We all have Substack. We all have X. You got Blue Sky. You can tell your story wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But should you? Are there some things that maybe you don't need to tell the world? That you could just say, like, you know what? This is a good story to tell over drinks with my best friend. And the world doesn't need to know this. Like, do you have, even though it's your truth, do you have some responsibility of saying, like, should I be torpedoing this guy's career? Maybe that is her intent. I don't know. But I think not every story needs to be told.
Well, I mean, you could say that about like 99% of social media, right? It's
true.
Stuff that doesn't need to be out there. I think ultimately it's good in that as much as garbage that is out on social media and out on all these places, the fact that we have an ability to tell stories when stories need to be told, I'd rather err on the side of having room for people to say a bunch of stuff that doesn't need to be said so that the stuff that does need to be said has a place where it can be said. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
but the issue is if all of these stories get oxygen, does this make people less inclined to believe the real stuff, which we know this real crap is happening every day in this country?
I understand the concern. I understand the concern, and who gets to be the ultimate arbiter of what needs to be said?
You and me get to be. We get to decide.
That's our job.
We get to decide. No, for sure. Like, I would never prohibit someone from this, I guess. And certainly some of the political dynamics here involve, like, there are people on the left of this guy. So Daniel Bliss is, like, not exactly a moderate Democrat, but there are people on the left of him running. And so there's always politics. Texter says, just because someone may be socializing with others who may be half their age or younger, I mean, that's just not this situation, but shouldn't necessarily classify that someone should be attempting to date or making an attempt to engage. They were dating.
They were dating, yeah. He asked her out on a date.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's not denying that at all.
Some of the stuff that we assign as being like, this is bad morality, and then you look at the other stuff that we just look the other way. Sometimes I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Let's break in a minute. University of St. Thomas tonight, the very first time that they are in an NCAA postseason tournament, because this is their first time to be eligible for Division I. It's not what they wanted. But the NIT tonight, we'll talk to the head coach of the University of St. Thomas men's basketball team, John Tower, in just a minute, here on Drive Time.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO. Before the flowers bloom, ahead of the birds returning, the first real sign of spring, it's Twins baseball.
Buck pulls this one down the left field line, has a chance. Get up, get going.
The sights and sounds of everything at spring training happens here.
Sharply through the left side, RBI single, Austin Martin, and the Twins lead 2-0.
Your flagship home for Twins baseball. News Talk 830 WCCO.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Don't suffer through foot pain, sore ankles, tired legs, aching back and hips, or sore knees. Call the Good Feet store. The Good Feet Arch support system is designed to relieve pain and stress in the body with over 350 styles and sizes. Located in Maple Grove, Burnsville, Woodbury, and Roseville. Call 855-554-3338 or stop in for your complimentary fitting. In as little as 40 minutes, you could be walking out pain-free.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list, and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/groundadvantage to learn more.
When it comes to outdoor living, quality matters. At By the Yard, their furniture is maintenance-free, built to last, and backed by a 35-year warranty. Made from recycled products, crafted right here in the Midwest, and priced direct to you. It's furniture that stands up to real life, season after season. You can count on durability, on-time delivery, and products that live up to every promise they make. Visit a showroom near you to see all By the Yard has to offer, or shop online at buytheyard.net. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
This is an important message for anyone struggling with $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or personal loans. Due to ongoing inflation, job loss, and the rising cost of living, many Americans are facing overwhelming credit card balances. If you're drowning in credit card debt, you may qualify for powerful debt relief options currently being offered by National Debt Relief that can significantly reduce what you owe. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a debt consolidation loan. You could qualify for this debt relief option and only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe. Act now to see if you qualify. With thousands of 5-star reviews online and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, National Debt Relief has helped over 1 million consumers with their debt that qualified for this relief option. So don't wait. Call the Debt Reduction Hotline now. Dial 800-428-5757. 800-428-5757. That's 800-428-5757.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Fresh 94 westbound near Hemlock Lane's been taken care of. Traffic levels are on the moderate side now. Speeds back up around the posted. If you're going to be traveling Highway 169 northbound, not too bad of a drive. Highway 7 to Highway 55. Traveling 36 eastbound, looking good as we move past 35E, heading out towards 694. Trey Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
For the best windows in the business that are made to order just for you, an array of styles, features that will fit your project and budget, only one way to go. My friends with Pella Windows and Doors, PellaNorthland.com. Tell me, heard this from Chad.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Forecast brought to you by Pella Windows Northland. Here is our chief meteorologist, Chris Schaefer.
Light snow possible into the night tonight. You're not going to have to clear a lot of it in the morning.
1 to 2 inches possible. Temperatures actually warming as we sleep tonight. Mostly cloudy, 41 tomorrow. That will feel nice, even though it's right around average. We surpass average Thursday. Partly cloudy, mid-40s, up into the 50s Friday and Saturday.
Looking at the live radar right now, there are snowflakes falling almost everywhere except right in the center of the 494 Metro Loop. Snow to the north, snow to the south, nothing to the west or the center. We'll keep you up to date as you drive home. Right now, it is 18 degrees on CCO.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
It's okay to be skeptical and cynical about this. I think that's part of the deal, but it's also okay to have fun.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
Couple of big sports stories we're keeping an eye on today. The first you heard at the top of the hour. Anthony Edwards is going to miss 1 to 2 weeks because of knee inflammation. He's been a fast healer, but he's going to miss a chunk of time, which is not great. But he'll be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks, and the playoffs are on the horizon. So they're trying to get him back to 100% instead of gutting it out through the rest of the season. Game tonight against Phoenix, an important game tonight. But, yeah, not great. Second big story is that the Gophers fired their women's hockey coach, Brad Frost. He won 4 NCAA championships, 19 seasons with the team. But the last time he won was a decade ago. And so he was fired today. And the other thing we're watching is the University of St. Thomas, their very first time in Division I postseason action. They are in Seattle right now for the NIT. They're playing Seattle U at 9 p.m. And so we go to Seattle to talk to men's basketball head coach at the University of St. Thomas, Johnny Tower, who joins us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline, because this is a pretty big deal for the program, isn't it, Johnny?
Hey, thanks, Jason. Yeah, it is pretty special. You know, as a kid, I remember growing up watching the NCAA tournament, watching the NIT, and so to have an opportunity for our school in the first year of eligibility to play in this event is, I think, really special, both for our program, our players, and also our university. So it's, it's one of those moments that I think when you look at the progression of our athletic department, our basketball program, this is it's certainly a tangible marker, and we're thrilled to be here.
You guys obviously would have loved to have the opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament. Every D1 team wants that. But you were staying kind of with your players having their head in the game over this past week, just, because you didn't know if you would even get the invite to be in the NIT, did you?
No, we did not. We knew it was going to come down to Sunday night, and there are certain factors outside of our control. I think the thing we felt good about was, we have 24 wins, and our metrics, when you look at the net ranking, I think we were as high as like 102 out of 365 teams. And so you start doing the math, 68 make the tournament, 8 are in the crown. And I think we thought we had a chance. And so we were practicing throughout the week, although a different feel, right? When hey, we might be playing, we might not. And so I give our players a lot of credit, because that's not an easy thing to do as a college athlete. We had a great season, won a huge game against South Dakota State, had a real tough loss against North Dakota. And then, it's one of those, to me, a learning moment in life that you want your players to understand. We didn't control everything we could, but in some sense, qualifying for the NIT tournament is really based on your whole body of work for the year. And I give credit to our guys, because they've really been outstanding all season.
Seattle tonight. What are the logistics of this? Like, you guys take, I don't know, I saw a video that you posted. What was this plane that you guys were taking to get out to Seattle?
It looked a little like Major League, right? Back in 1989, if you remember that movie.
Yes.
That's at least some of the jokes that I had from people. And there were stiff winds. We're coming out of the weather. And so I think the flight took close to 6 hours.
Whoa, really?
It was, we're flying into the wind. So, yeah, I was sitting next to my boss, Phil Eston, and I fell asleep for a while. We talked, and he fell asleep for a while. We talked. And I'm kind of like, and the time is changing, right, through the time zones. So I literally, when we got off the plane, I think we were all like, how long was that? And it was close to 6 hours, but we're just excited to get the team back together again. And, Seattle, it's a fun place to go. It's really a nice reward. And you look at the bracket and teams like Seattle, who, has a rich history. The other side of our bracket, Auburn plays tonight. And so certainly we're not looking ahead because Seattle's outstanding. But when you look at, one of my friends said, hey, if I had told you 6 years ago, you guys were going to be in the NIT tournament, like we were firmly in Division III and we were happy there. And so it is a pretty surreal moment when you consider all the factors that have gone into this and kind of where we're at.
4 years in a row that you've had a 20-win season. This is your 10th 20-win season leading St. Thomas. I mean, when you look back and you say 6 years ago, I think going back to even the early to mid 90s when you were a player on a couple of 20-win Tommie teams. I mean, this is it is an amazing story. It really is.
It's, and I go back further. My dad would bring me to games when I was 6, 7 years old. The first basketball games I ever went to were at the old College of St. Thomas, and which makes me sound really old. I'm not that old, Jason, but it is. I'm hearing from a lot of alums who I think it's sort of like you look at this journey we've had in Division I, and then, we certainly hope there are even bigger, brighter days ahead. But to be in the NIT tournament, and our school, just the journey we're on, and for me to have been here, this is my 26th year coaching, it has been a magical ride. And there were so many epic moments in Division III. And now to be doing this in Division I, and so excited to see where we can take it.
A bunch of individuals on the team getting all Summit League honors, which is pretty fun too, right?
Yeah, we had a couple guys, Nolan Minasali, who is a sophomore, first team all conference, scored about 20 points a game, and I think is just one of the better all-around players in college basketball. He's unbelievable, his work ethic. Marquette High School. So, I'd like to say he was mentored maybe by you, some of the lore of Jason DeRusha.
Had heard about it.
Shooting on a playground, back in the day. Nick Janowski's another first-team all-conference guy from Pewaukee High School. And so those two have led us in scoring, but we've really had contributions from so many guys. A lot of local guys, Carter Bierke, who is a junior center from Wayzata and has been a big part of our program. Really, this is his 4th year in the program. And you talk about all those wins. It's pretty cool to see, in this era that, has become more transient and probably transactional with the transfer portal, to see a lot of kids like Carter, who's in our 4th year, Ryan Dufault, who's in his 5th year with our program. Those guys have really helped, I'd say, perpetuate the culture we had in Division III.
Be fun to make a run in the NIT, right? Why not? Let's go.
Why not? This is going to be a fun night tonight. It's a small gym. I think it seats 999 people. We actually played here 4 years ago in like our 7th or 8th Division I game ever. We played at Seattle. And so it's cool to be back here under these circumstances. And I think our players are just so excited to keep the season going. Our last game, like most last games, was really painful, and they've given everything they have all year. And so the excitement on Sunday night when we got the news that we were in here, it was just one of the cooler things to see. And then to get them back in the gym yesterday morning, it's part of what you love about coaching, is just seeing the joy and the energy on young people's faces doing what they love to do.
Pretty good. It'll be 9 p.m. St. Thomas against Seattle U on ESPN Plus. Good luck. Go get them tonight.
Hey, thank you, Jason. Appreciate your support. And you're willing to stay up a little later tonight.
9 p.m. is
no the Tommies, right?
St. Patrick's Day, like a little luck of the Irish, and maybe I may have a pint or two in me.
You're a night owl. This will just keep you going. I should say happy
deal.
St. Patrick's Day. My mom's family's from County Galway, and so if I give her a shout out on the radio, that might my 84-year-old mom, Michelle. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Mom.
All right, happy St. Patrick's Day to Mom, and I can assure you the party started in St. Paul at about 9 this morning. I was at the parade midday, and so it'll keep rolling right through. Hopefully, a victory in Seattle tonight.
Let's go. Roll Toms. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks. Johnny Tower with us on CCO. Back in a minute here on Drive Time.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha. Video streaming live on YouTube and always on your radio at News Talk 830 WCCO.
If you have a vacant investment property and want to sell it, call the John Schuster Group with Coldwell Banker Realty. They can get you the most for your investment. I know. I've seen them in action. It's Vanita. John's marketing system helps him sell houses fast and for the most money possible. That's what you want. Craig just worked with the Good Neighbor agent, that's what we call him, John Schuster, to sell a home. Craig was building a new home and wanted someone to move in right when it was finished. John's marketing system helped Craig find a buyer on time. It took John, get this, 10 days to sell Craig's house for $15,000 over the asking price. This is a huge investment. You'll want to make money. And you start with, what is your home worth? Are you curious what your home's worth? Find out in seconds. Just go to johnschustergroup.com.
Buy a home, sell a home, we'll get you moving. johnschustergroup.com.
Terms and conditions may apply.
Imagine placing an investment or trade without fear. Knowing that big institutions have taken the same trade as you, pushing the price higher, which only they can do. You get to ride the wave of institutional demand. If not, your plan will protect you from the downside. This is how our students are taught to invest in trade. Right now, you can sign up for a free investing class where we'll outline our strategy for following the smart money. Text investing to 210-210. We'll also review strategies for growing a retirement portfolio, how professionals profit when stocks are falling, and how to protect your investments against inflation. With a 25-year history, local classrooms, and one-on-one support, you're not alone. And now it's your turn. Sign up for a free investing class today. Text investing to 210-210 or go to learnwithota.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list, and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
Trust is earned. That's why I've stuck with Straight Talk. Same price since 2009 on Verizon's 5G network. Cause shoot, anyone can make a promise. Keeping it for years, that means something.
Now plans starting at $25 a month with 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Same price claim applies only to the base monthly price of our $45 plan from October 2009 to present.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Got some slowdowns on your commute, traveling 494 eastbound. You come in from East Bush Lake Road over to Cedar Avenue. South 169 looking good, 494 to Highway 101, 694. That's flowing nicely both directions for the time being between 252 and 35W. Jerry Peterson, New Talk 830 WCCO.
With a well-designed will, trust, and estate plan, you can have peace of mind. Choose Matt Gutman of Gutman Law to give yourself peace of mind. Call him now, 612-895-1616 at gutmanlaw.com. Gutman Law, peace of mind today for tomorrow.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
All right, we're waiting for more snow Before we get into the 50s or 60s this weekend, why not? Why not? Weather brought to you by Gutman Law, Wills, Trust, and Probate Law. Tonight, maybe an inch or two in the metro, low of 20. Tomorrow, 41. So the melting starts Thursday, 45, and then we'll see how warm it gets with all the snow on the ground this weekend. Right now, light snow around the metro, but not in the core. No snow on Grand Avenue in St. Paul, where it is 21 on CC.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha. Video streaming live on YouTube and always, and I mean always, on your radio at News Talk 830 WCCO.
$3.53. That is your Continental Diamond time check. Locally owned. They are my headquarters for pre-owned timepieces. Unbelievable selection from some of the nicest people in the state of Minnesota. Get to Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park or check out what they've got in stock. You name your dream watch brand, they've got it at continentaldiamond.com. So I have an iPhone that is an iPhone 15. It is, Alyssa and I were checking this just the other day because I am really slow by my standards at upgrading my phone. So I'm at about 2.5 years on this thing. Dan, do you have the Google phone? Or
this is the Google Pixel. This is the Google Pixel 8.
Which
the current model is the 10.
So you're about 2 years old, or how does Google do it? Do they have their own math?
Probably, but I don't know.
It's probably better.
It's
better than anything an iPhone can ever do.
Well, that's just obvious. But so I got this actually just about a month ago. It was right before we went to
that's
Florida.
Right. So you have a fairly new phone.
So it's fairly new, but I mean it's still 2 generations old. And the thing of it is, the one I had prior to this, I actually have it over my bag, is a Google Pixel 6. So I was 4 generations behind. I got a refurbished one for a couple $100 on Amazon that I've transferred this all over to. But I am definitely holding on longer to devices than I ever did, when it was because I switched my wireless plan. I went to one of the cheaper wireless plans that doesn't have have you pay, a little bit each month towards a new phone, and you won't even feel it kind of situation. Now if I want a new phone, it's, $1,000 or whatever they're running. And that's just unnecessary for me. So I'll be a couple of generations behind probably for the rest of my life and be just fine with that.
We used to replace our smartphones every 22 months. That was the data point from 2016. Now the average American holds on their smartphone for 29 months.
I'm way over that.
The Federal Reserve did some research on this, and they said every additional year that companies delay upgrading their equipment, like your office computer, like my laptop over here is the same dang laptop I got when I started here almost 4 years ago. They say it results in a productivity decline of about 1/3%. So maybe instead of your boss worrying about whether you're working remotely, they should worry about what kind of equipment they're providing you with. But the other issue is that it's having a negative impact on the economy. Because what saves you or your company money costs somebody else money, right?
Well, there is that.
They're so expensive, though, and they work. I don't know. You guys text in at 651-461-9226. I want to know how long you've had your smartphone for. Because I feel like, and I know this is just based on my feelings. I don't know if it's based on reality. But, once you hit the 2-year mark, doesn't the phone seem to work a little crappier? It's a little slower, a little more glitchy, a little more something.
Honestly,
they're trying to get me.
Yeah, when I made the change this year, it wasn't because the old phone wasn't working well. It was because I'm anticipating that at some point Google's going to stop supporting that phone altogether, and I have no idea what's going to happen at that. And I thought, you know what, if I can get a refurbished model that's a couple of years old, that probably isn't going to be terribly expensive, and it wasn't relative to what a new phone costs.
Was it legal? Is what you
100%.
did legal? Are you sure?
100%. 100% it's legal. What would be illegal about that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
You're just a snooty iPhone person is what you are.
No, I mean, the pictures that the Google phone takes, it's outstanding.
Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
But I have a Mac laptop at home, and so for me being able to transfer photos and just access things on these different
and that's a lot of it for me
it's
too.
Worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Chromebook and I have a PC at home, and so no, a lot of it's just integration ability like that. I do have an iPad, for my tablet, but I don't use it that terribly often.
I mean, I'm looking at these new phones, the 17. I have the 15.
You get
a
little jealous?
Oh,
feeling a little twitchy?
I always have this conflict between wanting the best and also being inherently a little cheap. So $1,100 for a phone? I don't think so. CBS News and Lou Raguse joining us at the top of the hour. Fraud Talk.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Don't suffer through foot pain, sore ankles, tired legs, aching back and hips, or sore knees. Call the Good Feet store. The Good Feet Arch support system is designed to relieve pain and stress in the body with over 350 styles and sizes. Located in Maple Grove, Burnsville, Woodbury, and Roseville. Call 855-554-3338 or stop in for your complimentary fitting. In as little as 40 minutes, you could be walking out pain-free.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Mike Rowe here with another random fact. Those cracks on your walls aren't just cosmetic. They could mean your home is sinking. Whether it's drywall cracks, exterior cracks, or sticking doors or windows, do yourself a favor. Call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to stabilize your foundation. Innovative Basement Authority is now Groundworks. Schedule a free inspection.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast.
Pump up the volume.
When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
If your workspace needs a spring reset like mine does, now's the time. The Staples Spring Savings Event is happening this week only, with savings up to 50% in-store and online. Plus, join Easy Rewards for free and save even more. Deals end March 21st. Staples. That was easy.
Streaming live via the Odyssey and iHeartRadio apps. This is News Talk 830 WCCO, 1029 HD2, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by JTV.com.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Top Trump counterterrorism official Joe Kent resigns over the war in Iran, saying he cannot in good conscience back the Trump administration's war. And CBS's Olivia Rinaldi reports.
This is the highest ranking and first U.S. official to resign, citing the war in Iran, but also the pretenses in which the war in Iran began. Joe Kent, who was the director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, in a letter that he just put on Truth Social and on X, said that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel.
President Trump says of Kent's resignation.
But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was.
The Senate has voted to begin a marathon debate session over the Save America Act, an elections bill that President Trump has been pressing Republicans in Congress to pass, despite its dim prospects in the upper chamber. Irish Taoiseach Micheál Martin participated in a bilateral meeting with President Trump and has spoken at a St. Patrick's Day luncheon at the U.S. Capitol.
This gathering signifies the ties that bind our two countries and the bipartisan commitment to peace and reconciliation in Ireland.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is subpoenaed to testify before the House Oversight Committee. GOP Chairman James Comer issued the subpoena. CBS's Jake Rosen.
Attorney General Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche will also brief the House Oversight Committee tomorrow on what the Department of Justice's handling process was in relation to the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which has backfired among some in Congress who believe that the DOJ has not been transparent with how the process of redactions and releasing information was handled.
Illinois voters are deciding primaries for 6 open U.S. House and Senate seats. The retirement of Democratic Senator Dick Durbin has triggered a competitive campaign to find a replacement. Among the candidates in today's Democratic primary are 2 sitting House members and the lieutenant governor. CBS's Aaron Navarro says the race is also a test of the influence of Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker.
One operative based in Chicago said that it would show that he's, quote, ineffective in controlling the Democratic Party in his own state and probably won't bode well for a 2028 run. At the same time, the governor and his team point to the fact that he's up for re-election himself. He has told the New York Times he's not considering or not looking at a 2028 presidential bid at this moment.
This is CBS News.
Looking for spring jewelry looks? Find them at Jewelry Television. New customers get $20 off purchases of $99 or more at jtv.com.
Minnesota's trusted voice every hour. Let's get you caught up with what's happening now on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Cloudy and 21 degrees at 4:03. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Fry. Governor Tim Walz responding to a new audit report revealing multi-year oversight gaps by the Department of Human Services. He addressed a new legislative auditor's report that claims state human services officials have had the authority for decades to investigate financial kickbacks within state programs, even though DHS previously said they didn't have that power. The governor says there has been a historical disagreement between agency lawyers and auditors over the department's legal authority, and they welcome this report now.
We welcome any of the help, and the OLA is doing that, of highlighting, and of course in that program this has been an ongoing problem.
And he says moving forward, his administration intends to use their authority to aggressively halt payments and pursue criminal penalties against fraudsters. A lawsuit filed today accuses Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and the city of Minneapolis for not complying with a mandate related to the number of sworn police officers in the city. Rachel Paulos is the managing attorney with the Upper Midwest Law Center, says the city is more than 100 officers short of the mandated 731 sworn officers, which the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled 4 years ago was a number that must be met.
And when you look at what is happening to the citizens of Minneapolis and the fact that people have bullet holes in their houses that are not getting investigated, people are getting hit and run by cars that are not, crimes are not being solved, children cannot play in their front yards, there are real consequences to the failure to fund the Minneapolis Police Department.
And we've reached out to the city of Minneapolis for comment on that lawsuit filed today. Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witz defending her office's overtime costs during Operation Metro Search that totaled $1.3 million in January alone, which was $860,000 over budget. Witt tells WCCO Radio's Adam and Jordana.
To know that the last 3 years my overtime budget has been decreased, even though we're trying to make sure that we are getting our communities in a safer way. I don't have the option of saying no. We are going to show up, and we must do that, and we must be compensated accordingly for that.
Total expenses for the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office in January were $2.3 million over the budget for the month. And a change coming to the University of Minnesota women's hockey program.
After 19 seasons, Brad Frost is out as the Gophers women's hockey coach. University of Minnesota Athletic Director Mark Coyle making that announcement, adding that they'll start a nationwide search immediately for their new coach. Frost led the Gophers to numerous WCHA titles and 4 national championships, with the last coming in 2016. Gopher women's hockey finishes 26-12 and won this season. They were bounced from the NCAA tournament this past weekend in a 4-2 loss against the Northeastern Huskies. Ari Bergeron, News Talk 830 WCCO.
It's 4:06, traffic and weather next.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Overall, not looking all that bad as you cruise the system. You'll find some minor slowing as you make way west 94 into downtown Minneapolis past Cedar Avenue. 35W northbound, a little bit of congestion through the Highway 36 Commons. After that, not too bad. You hit the area of Highway 10, and a little bit of a slowdown there. The USPS Ground Advantage reliable route, things running smoothly for East 94 as you make way past Highway 61 into Wisconsin. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Jason DeRusha here. The Canopy Group represents 16 different insurance companies, not just one. They give you options. Each year, they'll review your program so you don't have to, making sure you get the best coverage at the best price. Do like I did. Go to thecanopygroup.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
And the weather is brought to you by the Canopy Group. Here's Chris Schaefer.
A round of light snow passing tonight. Emphasis on the word light. 1 to 2 inches, but it could create some slick spots that could last into the morning commute as well. Temperatures actually warming overnight. Tomorrow we're near average. Mostly cloudy with a high of 41, mid-40s Thursday, into the 50s Friday and Saturday.
Thank you, Chris. Cloudy and 21 at News Talk 830 WCCO.
Making you think, making you laugh, yeah, and sometimes getting you a little fired up.
You gotta be kidding me.
News Talk 830 WCCO. Good questions. Topics you'll probably talk about at dinner. Places to go for dinner. This is the Ride Home Reimagined. Welcome to Drive Time with DeRusha. Now, here's Jason DeRusha.
Well, you heard a little about it from Mark Fry. It is a story that I just am still shaking my head over this. The governor has responded to this new report that came out that said Minnesota's Department of Human Services didn't think it could investigate whether kickbacks were being paid in welfare programs because they weren't defining a kickback as fraud. Only in Minnesota could you figure out a way that a kickback would not be defined as something that you could investigate as fraud. Lou Raguse has been covering this for KARE 11 as he's been covering the fraud. He joins us in the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. This is a pretty intense legislative auditor review here. And the governor, Lou, said that, look, there's often been a debate as to whether or not, I think as a taxpayer, you're like, why are we debating this stuff? If there's something going wrong, you should be able to investigate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jason. And that's the thing is the people at home that are listening to this stuff seem to have more common sense than all the people that are in charge of it. And it makes sense to anyone at home that paying a kickback is fraud. And just in case you don't fully understand what a kickback is, so for example, like in these autism programs that I've covered a lot, they need to have real children enrolled in their autism program, even if they are scamming. So they will pay families to enroll their children, whether or not they have autism or not, get them in there, pay them a kickback, a small amount of money, in order to bilk the taxpayers for even more money by having that name on their roster when they defraud the program. So that's what a kickback is in the context of fraud within our programs. So what this audit found is that there have been cases that DHS received a complaint or a tip that there's been a kickback at one of these programs, and they closed the complaint without investigating for the rationale that they didn't believe that they had the authority to do so.
I mean, it's a head scratcher to say the least. It does go to these questions again where you look at, and you've been investigating so much of this, you look at it and think, is this stuff reformable, or do we need to just start over and say, okay, how would we design a modern governmental agency that is trying to get money to legitimate providers, but also, like, give me a break. Like, investigate whatever you want to investigate. How do you need statutory authority? Just preposterous to me.
Yeah, and when you hear I interviewed the Deputy Legislative Auditor today who was in charge of this report. And to get down to the reason of why they believe this, it goes all the way back to what is essentially a clerical error. Decades ago, when they were writing, what they have authority to investigate, they put in the wrong statute. They entered the wrong statute into their internal rules. So when they look at their internal rules, it says you have to abide by this statute, and that statute, which is a state law, points them to the incorrect thing. So over the years, they just never fixed their internal rule. They never went to the legislature and said, hey, we have a clerical error here that we basically need to fix so that we can investigate fraud. They never did that. And I listened to Commissioner Sringati today take some questions on it, and those political reporters did a great job asking her questions, but, they likely had not read the full report because that wasn't, what the main thing they're working on today. but they at least were asking her, why didn't DHS do something sooner? And her answers really didn't make sense because she said, well, we've been pushing for legislation on this since 2019. And they said, okay, well, if it didn't pass in 2019, why didn't you just change your internal rules? And they said, well, that takes longer. Okay, well, that was several years ago. Well, we have it in there now. We want it to pass now with the legislature this year. And there just was no good answer as to why this has not been fixed. And I think that's one of the main things that these OLA, Office of Legislative Auditor reports keep bringing up, is that when these problems exist within these agencies, particularly within the Department of Human Services, there are people inside that notice these major systemic problems, and they don't bring it up to the point where it can be changed and fixed.
Lou Raguse,
it's a culture of almost hiding it.
That's right. That's what's upsetting. Lou Raguse is with KARE 11. He's with us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. This has had real impacts. So when I was reading through the report, it talked about, the legislative auditor was taking a look at 25 different cases that were closed without investigation. Because that gets to sort of a question I think a lot of us have had, which is, was it incompetence? Was it just the fraud wasn't caught? Was it a culture of like, if you're a whistleblower, you get shut down? So the legislative auditor is looking at some of these complaints that were closed without investigation. And of the 25 that they looked at, there were 3 of them in there that involved these allegations of kickbacks, and that was it. That was sort of where the investigation came to an end, where they said, well, we just have no authority to look at that. So who knows what they could have caught if they would have, applied what is really a common sense approach here.
Yeah, we've done so many different fraud stories. Back when Joe Thompson was leading the fraud unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office, he said something in an interview with A.J. Legault, something to the effect of, if you show me a kickback, I'll show you widespread fraud by that provider. Because the kickback is part of the overall fraud. It's not, a kickback doesn't happen in a vacuum. If there is kickback and you look into it, you're going to find fraud. I think one thing about this report that'll be upsetting to people is that you mentioned the 3 instances of kickbacks where they just closed without investigating. At least one of them is still getting paid taxpayer money as of right now.
You're kidding.
Nope. And they weren't just not referred to law enforcement. They didn't even put a flag on it that said, let's go back and look into this further later on. There was just nothing. There's no notation. There's nothing on those accounts, so to speak. 2 of them may have closed down on their own at some point. One of them is still receiving money right now.
Lou Raguse with us talking about the Legislative Auditor report. And this goes to some of the challenges, I think, when you think, okay, how do we, I think we've all been covering what legislators have been talking about, what the governor is talking about, sort of new ways to try to catch fraud on the front end so you're not paying out stuff. Did the auditor have any suggestions in this report that you think would really change the situation, other than the obvious of investigate if there's a kickback, you're allowed and you should?
So there's a legal disagreement. First of all, the auditor said you've had the ability to look into these all along, because kickbacks are illegal under federal law. And it says that if you suspect somebody is violating federal law, you have a right to investigate. However, the auditor pointed out that if you're going to follow it the way that you are following it, then you do need to change that error, the wording that is incorrect, so that it points to the right thing and says you can investigate kickbacks, because the legislative auditor says under the way that it's written right now, according to the rules that you say that you're following, you would have to continue paying them even while you investigate them. You can't do a stop payment. And so that just seems like another kind of systemic problem that has to be fixed. But I think the big picture thing here is, even though this audit was involving the autism program, and that's the sample that they looked at, the same would apply to every single DHS program that pays Medicaid reimbursements, because if they got an allegation of a kickback and followed the rules the way that they say that they followed them, it would be the exact same result, no matter what the program is.
So frustrating. So frustrating to think that this was a choice that was made over years. And I think, these kickback was illegal in federal law for, this has been, 20, 30 years? I mean, the statutory authority there has been there for a long time, but this legal dispute is what the governor and the DHS says has been going on. I don't know. It's hard for me to buy that. If this was such a concern, why weren't they bringing it up? Why weren't they, filing lawsuits to say, hey, we would like to be able to investigate that? We didn't see any of that.
Yeah, and it's as simple as bringing it up during the legislative session and telling lawmakers that, hey, fraudsters are going to get away with it unless we change this, so let's just include that in one of these bills. It's as simple as that, but they haven't done that. Furthermore, one of the excuses that the commissioner of DHS gave today is that she said that they have to follow, what the current law says, and if they don't, these things get challenged in court. But that excuse doesn't really fly here because they never tried to investigate for a kickback and then face them in court if they try to sue. You know what I mean? It never got to that. So that's just a theoretical. They just never did it.
I bet if they were challenged in court and called you up and called me up, we'd put them on the air to tell their story about how they're not being allowed to investigate fraud, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that's a tactic that a lot of the fraudsters have taken. But the government has to have, the bravery to face them in a lawsuit if they're being fraudulent, if they're committing fraud.
Lou Raguse from KARE 11 just had a report in their 4 o'clock news. You can see him at KARE11.com and follow him on social media. He updated this story 4 hours ago on Lou Newsman, which you can follow on X and TikTok and everywhere else. Lou, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pretty frustrating, right? Frustrating for sure. Let's break in a minute. Interesting conversation about whether Minnesota won, in effect, getting Kristi Noem reassigned / fired, Greg Bovino retired. Kind of an interesting argument that Minnesota made this happen. I don't know. Let's talk about it when we come back.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Big red checks. Big red checks. Do you want a big red check? You might. It's Jason here from my friend Chris Lindahl and Chris Lindahl Real Estate. The guaranteed cash offer is so smart. It has changed the lives of thousands of people in Minnesota and western Wisconsin because they needed speed. But now what is the game changer with the guaranteed cash offer is the fact that people are reaching out to Chris Lindahl at chrislindahl.com to get that big red check because they just do not want to deal with the hassles. You know what the real estate market is like right now. Uncertain interest rates, uncertain buyers, extremely picky buyers, home inspections. Are you going to get across the finish line? More and more people are saying, I don't want the headaches. I want to put my arms out wide and have Chris Lindahl bring me a big red check. Give Chris the stress. Give you the check. Get to chrislindahl.com. Right at the top of the page. Even if you're in the preparation process, maybe over the next year you're going to sell, get the free Smart Seller Guide. Open market versus guaranteed cash offer. Which is smarter? Find out with the help of my friend, Minnesotan great guy, chrislindahl.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait. And don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FRESH to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FRESH for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FRESH for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Jason DeRusha.
You never know on this show. Yes.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Cook, you're not wearing green today. I noticed. I know, like this is this is a little bit of the TV guy in me that I feel like I got to wear it's the holiday. You got to wear the green.
Well, there's a great conflict. Isn't the right word?
Are you a St. Urhos guy?
No, there's a big question mark in my family because it was always growing up believed that my paternal grandfather, my dad's dad, was of Irish descent. So I was always a quarter Irish as his grandchild, right? Until my mom started doing some digging on Ancestry.com. Now, my grandfather was estranged from his father, so we didn't have a whole lot of family information. So she starts doing some digging on Ancestry.com, and there's also records of him having been born and raised in a town in England, Fleet Town, I think it is.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm a quarter Irish or a quarter
Irish?
Brit. So it's like I don't feel like I can claim St. Patrick's Day if I'm not actually partially Irish.
Interesting.
That, and it didn't even occur to me to wear green today. So,
I was going to say, I salute you for your integrity.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A lot of people will just claim you get to be Irish today.
They just want to wear one of those shirts that says "Kiss me" and hope to make out with some random people. I think is pretty much all that is.
I'm not going to lie that, like, when I walked down to the parade in St. Paul around lunchtime today, I thought, like, if someone came up and kissed me, it'd be fine. I'd be fine. A stranger. Although a noontime smooch, you think that person has been drinking since 8 a.m., right? Like, if you're coming up to strangers on the street at noon, woof, it's not great.
I'm sure your wife would agree wholeheartedly with that assessment.
Well, I wouldn't initiate if I were.
Oh, then it's totally fine. I'm sure that she wouldn't.
Yeah,
she'd totally see that distinction.
She understands as a major local celebrity, there are going to be people who just can't resist. They see their moment.
Yeah.
And those people today were about 85 years old.
Probably, yeah.
Who came up to me.
Yeah.
It's fine. Did Minnesota win by getting rid of Greg Bovino and Kristi Noem? It's sort of an interesting question, kind of a dumb question in a way, right?
Right, because Minnesota clearly didn't win in this situation, full stop.
Correct. I do think that what happened here prevented a similar situation from playing out in other cities around the country.
So far?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But nobody won in this scenario. I think it's difficult when we live in a cycle that it's all about winning the day. Did I win the day? Did I win the day? Did I win the news cycle? It's sort of this political dunk fest that we live in. And a lot of us fall for it, right? Like, you're on social media, you're like, we got him. And in fact, today, was it today or yesterday, that Senator Tina Smith, who has become a tremendous troll on social media, Whether you like it or not, I don't know. I'm entertained by it. It's sort of weird. Is it sort of? I think it's a little weird. So, like, she posted yesterday, and by she, it means, like, whoever the most clever staffer is on her team. I'm sure that this is not her. But she posted moment of silence for Kristi Noem's career. And then she posted, like, this. I don't know what this.
It's the klaxon, the tornado siren.
All right, I don't want to play that on the radio and give people. It's not quite the same sound as the alert sound, but you know. And so that was
an old school one.
That was on March 5th, and then yesterday, same goes for Bovino, by the way. And I get it, right? Like feeling like, okay, you know, we did it. But I don't know, man. Like, was it worth it? Like, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, certainly you wouldn't.
We're still trying to recover.
You wouldn't
this
make that trade if you told,
right.
you know, hey, you're going to have utter chaos and 2 people are going to die for like a month and a half. It's going to be insane, but 2 members of the administration will lose their jobs. Nobody makes that trade, right? I think where it becomes an important conversation, or at least something to be talked about. We had a Facebook comment earlier responding to this, saying that, you know, the reality is the protests didn't stop one single deportation. Good and pretty are dead. Bovino and Noem aren't. I'd say the feds won. And it's that last line that I'm like,
interesting.
That's how we're going to measure it now?
Right. Right.
Oof.
Stark. You know, and I think there are other folks. We have a frequent visitor who we always appreciate the frequent visitors. But our friend Dr. Dulas says things were going on all over the states when the feds were there, but other cities didn't have the BS that we had here with the resistance that was here. And where I would say the people of Minneapolis made a difference in the federal policy is that the feds came here because they wanted the resistance.
Yeah.
I think that's the part of this that people who are defenders of the administration's approach, which, by the way, you know who isn't a defender of the administration's approach? President Donald Trump, who is now reassigned the 2 ringleaders of this idiotic approach here in the Twin Cities. So Donald Trump has the sense to say, this is not effective. And in fact, this is backfiring on our overall goal of deporting people who shouldn't be here. And so I think the president gets it in that the lack of public support that happens when you have sort of the brutish, brutal approach and the unconstitutional lack of respect and sort of law enforcement tactics that our local law enforcement people would never do. The president's like, this is too much. This is not for me. I do think his supporters could get on board with that pretty easily and give the president the credit, right? Like, that doesn't affect your worldview. Like, he saw that this was bad. I do think the strategy was to come into our community knowing that people were going to raise hell. What they didn't expect is that people didn't lose their minds here. They thought it was going to blow up and then reflect poorly on the libs. And, in fact, it was the other.
They thought they were going to get like another George Floyd response, and there would be rioting and looting and burning. And you know what? Folks around here learned a little something from that episode. So.
They could have done this the Tom Homan way, which now is the approach of the administration. And Homan wanted to go into more red states where they would be welcome and they would achieve big numbers. So I do think, to a certain degree, Minnesota gets credit for that. We're going to break. It is St. Patrick's Day. It is DeRusha Eats Day. And so we are going to speak with a local chef who leads tours to Ireland, because I got questions about Irish food, about this sort of reputation that the Irish are a bunch of drunks. Is it true? What do the Irish people really drink? And what do they really eat? I bet they're not eating corned beef and cabbage tonight, are they? We're going to speak with Shelagh Garrity Mullen in just an old minute or two. Drive Time back after this.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO. Where Minnesota checks in.
Thanks for having me on. Love your show.
I wish more people listened to get the balance.
And chimes in.
I have had enough of this government. Republicans like to say the law and order.
It's your turn.
Let ICE do their business. We don't want criminals. I've heard this in the news.
Anger makes you stupid.
Add your voice to the mix. The CCO talk and text line 651-461-9226.
Staples has got hot deals and super low prices on everything for your business. And right now, brand your business at Staples with up to 30% off custom labels. Shop Staples in-store, online, or in the app. Ends 4/18. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Hey, Jordana, I'm Brian. I'm 58 and single. I have a house, a bunch of investments. I have a sister I'm close to, but no kids or anything tying me down, so I never really worried about planning for the future. Recently, a friend of mine passed away unexpectedly without a will or a trust, and it created a huge mess for the family he left behind. I don't want to be a burden on my sister. I want to be prepared. So why should I choose Gutman Law?
Hi, Brian. Your instincts are correct. If you were to do nothing, the state would decide who's in charge and how to distribute your assets, which is probably not what you want. And your sister will have a lot to sort out by herself. Now, this is the reason why I chose Gutman Law. My family, Matt and Jamie, were so sensitive to the nuances of my situation after a divorce. An estate plan is more than just names and numbers on a piece of paper. It's family. Making it easy on them is what matters most. From healthcare directives to wills to living trusts, Gutman Law can help you determine what type of planning makes sense to protect you and your loved ones. 612-895-1616 or go to mnestatelaw.com. Gutman Law, giving you peace of mind today for tomorrow.
1-877 cars for kids. KARE.
Hello, can you hear us okay?
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us
hear
how to
me?
pronounce- Can you hear you loud and clear? Can you tell us how to pronounce your name? I want to make sure we get that right.
Shelagh Mullen. Sheila Garrity Mullen.
Got it. Thank you so much. We'll be with you here in just a couple minutes.
Cars for kids. 1-877 cars for kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 cars for kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Chad back here with you. I want to talk about trust and peace of mind. We all need it, in particular in some areas, including your insurance. Maybe it's for your business, or maybe it's more traditional with your house and your car. For me, I have trusted Amber Scholl and Associates with American Family for what are you guessing, 5 years, 10 years? No. My entire family, whether it's my father or my kids, with American Family, with Amber in particular, for 30 years. We dread something bad happening with our house.
Home, by the way.
With a car accident.
I don't know if you can hear me right now.
With expertise, with professionalism and availability, and that's what Amber and her team are all about. Reach out to them today. It's worth it. Trust me. 651-738-4811.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
490 eastbound at 35W, crash in the left lane is cleared out of the way. Still the slowdowns always come in from East Bush Lake Road. Crosstown seeing some slowing both directions between France Avenue and 35W. West 94 into downtown Minneapolis. That all slows up in the area of Huron Boulevard into the Lowry Hill Tunnel. And 394 slows in both directions. Is actually between 100 and I-94. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
At By the Yard, they're family-owned and locally made. This outdoor furniture is crafted from recycled materials, maintenance-free, backed by a 35-year warranty, so it looks great season after season. Stop by your local By the Yard showroom today. With By the Yard, life is better outdoors.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days. with your CCO forecast.
It is not snowing in the metro area, but it is snowing just about everywhere else. Zimmerman, North Branch, Northfield, River Falls. Yes, north, south, and east. Light snow right now. Here's Chris Schaefer.
Light snow possible into the night tonight. You're not going to have to clear a lot of it in the morning. 1 to 2 inches possible. Temperatures actually warming as we sleep tonight. Mostly cloudy, 41 tomorrow. That will feel nice, even though it's right around average. We surpass average Thursday. Partly cloudy, mid-40s, up into the 50s Friday and Saturday.
By the Yard bringing us this weather forecast. It's 21 in Brooklyn Park on CCO.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha. Video streaming live on YouTube and always on your radio at News Talk 830 WCCO.
DeRusha, he has the eats.
Nobody brings you the Twin Cities restaurant scene like your favorite foodie. Now, Jason explores some of the great chefs, owners, and stories right in our own backyard. Drive Time now transitions into DeRusha Eats.
And DeRusha Eats brought to you by the Minnesota Pork Board, although today belongs to the corned beef, doesn't it? It is St. Patrick's Day. I was out on the streets of St. Paul with everybody in their green beads, and oh my goodness, it was a lot of fun for the St. Patrick's Day parade right around noon, going from Mears Park to Rice Park. But it got me thinking, as people are going from Irish pub to Irish pub and seeking out the Reuben and the corned beef and cabbage and the carrots and the potatoes and all of that, where it got me thinking about do people in Ireland even give a rip about this? What kind of food are they eating in Ireland? And so to give us some insight, we bring in a St. Paul native chef, Shelagh Mullen, who is with us via video link up right now. Shelagh, it's good to visit with you. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me.
I know you lead culinary tours to Ireland on your website, She Cooks Design. So, you know, and your name is Sheila, but it's spelled Shelagh. So I feel like this gives you real credibility in this space.
You know it. That's it.
Super Irish. So let's start with how they actually celebrate this day in Ireland. Is St. Patrick's Day a big deal or not really?
You know, it's a big deal, but in a little different way than what we do here, and at least in St. Paul and Minneapolis. It's typically, I mean, I went to school there, to culinary school, and I would kind of interview my fellow students, and I'd say, so what did you really do on St. Patrick's Day? And they'd say, well, we'd go to Mass, and then we'd go and pluck a little, shamrock and put it in our lapel, and we'd have dinner, and then, Da would go to the pub, and that was pretty much it for the most part. But of course, if you're in Dublin or Galway, those are the big, party areas and more tourists. So they really, they do a little bit more of that, what you're seeing.
Some of our Americanized celebration has spread over there because tourists expect it now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So is corned beef and cabbage a real thing in Ireland?
No, it isn't. They will eat bacon and cabbage. So your pork board is going to love that because it's definitely it's a bacon, which is different than our bacon. It's more of a pork. Well, it's a different part of it's a pork shoulder usually, or kind of in the back, and they cure it, and it's not smoked. And so it's more, it's definitely more, but they definitely eat cabbage. They definitely eat potatoes. And but
if you're watching on our video stream right now, I've put up a picture of a more traditional kind of Irish bacon, cabbage. It looks sort of ham-like.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's usually served with a parsley sauce. It's really quite delicious. And it is a boiled meal, but it's not the corned beef. I think the corned beef was when they came over, the Irish didn't have money for beef back in the day. That was all exported or given to the landlords and the landowners. So they didn't really, the peasants and the country people did not have a lot of beef. but they would have a pig, for once a year
Sure.
kind of thing. But the corned beef, I think, started when they came over to the U.S. and they lived in poor neighborhoods with Jewish people and Italians, and they would go to the deli and they got the corned beef because it was the closest thing they could find to their cured pork. So
Yeah.
that's and really
That's ours. That's an American invention,
go.
essentially, right? We can be proud of that.
right. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. I love corned beef, and especially, I remember when my kids were little, and kids love corned beef because it's so easy to chew. So those boiled, I don't prefer to boil the whole thing. My wife's family always did the boiled meal. I like to do the different parts separately, but
Right. Oh, if you ever roast cabbage, I mean, that is
so good.
It's so sweet and delicious. So I just put a recipe up on my website for bacon and cabbage, fairly traditional, but I would probably boil the meat maybe, but I also have a recipe to brine it because it's hard to find the actual brined beefs or pork. So I have a brine, and then you boil it for a while. And then I like to roast my cabbage and then give it with a good mashed potato or a cold can. And yeah, that's it.
There it is. SheCooksDesign.com is the website where you can see that parsley sauce.
It's
now,
really quite tasty.
Yeah. Now you do these tours to Ireland.
I do. Yeah. I've started.
When did you start doing that?
Well, I was there for school in 2020. Of course, I was banished from the country for COVID. You know that story. Yeah. And I had met a woman.
Wasn't your fault. You weren't specifically individually banished, were you?
No, I did not start COVID. No,
we're going to have a big news story that just gets broken right here. Yeah, no, it wasn't you.
But I met a woman, she and her husband made goat cheese, and they were in Galway, and I kept in touch with them. And so when I got back, I kept in touch with Anne, and I said, hey, would you ever want to start a food tour with me? Because I love the country so very much that I just had to figure out a way to get back there at least once a year. So now I go, this year I have 2 tours that I'm doing. I do private tours, and very small. There's only 10 people on the tour. And it's really because people just have such a poor impression of the food of Ireland.
Yes.
And
is it as bad as sort of the reputation is?
I am telling you, Jason, I've never had a bad meal there. Even in the pubs, if you get out of the touristy areas, you can get an amazing smoked salmon, and think of this tiny little island surrounded by the sea with all this green grass that the cows eat. It's really a magical place. The seafood, the fish, the dairy, the beef and the lamb, amazing. It's
sort of makes sense. They must do a lot of like fish chowders and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, you do it pretty. Yeah.
Huge. And a good brown bread, I mean, you cannot go wrong. And everywhere you go, it's like, well, that was even better. And that was even better. It's just so good. It's so good.
Shelagh Mullen is with us. She is a recipe developer, a food stylist. She does cooking classes and tours. Okay.
Yeah.
The reputation about Irish people being drunks. Fair or unfair?
I wouldn't say drunk. I would say they definitely love their pints. I mean, think a pub means public house, and it's where they went to get their news and where they would go to meet with their neighbors. And sure, there's plenty of people. I mean, think of right here, plenty of people that just do it a little too much or would, maybe overindulge, but that's where they got the crack. That's where they would have a nice time, see their, this is all before the internet. And so it's there, and it's actually, you can't drink outside. You cannot be publicly intoxicated. You'll be arrested. So it's not really it's not really a thing.
It's probably better than St. Paul is right at this moment.
At this very moment, yeah, I think so.
Shelagh Mullen is our guest. We're talking about Ireland and Irish cooking. What do you think? I mean, I do find something fascinating about how every American wants to claim Irish heritage right now in this moment. And there is something just very fascinating about that. I don't know if it's because of sort of the adorableness of a leprechaun or the lovability of a redhead. I don't know. What do you make of it?
You know, I think if you've been there and you go, there is a pull. And maybe not everybody feels it, but I just feel a pull to the place. It's I mean, the beauty is overwhelming. I mean, everywhere, whether you're in the Midlands, you know, or you're out at the sea, it's really, and the people are really generous with their hospitality. And I mean, you ask someone for directions, they will stop, they'll look you in the eye, they will tell you exactly, you know, go down to where the church used to be, and then you take a left, and then you keep going past the pub, and then, you know, I mean, they will have a little conversation. Where are you from, love? You know, and they're just wonderful people, really wonderful people, just very genuine, for sure.
I can't wait to get there this fall, and we're gonna have. I mean, are you cooking tonight, or are you going somewhere for some corned beef?
Yeah, we don't usually, if it's on a weeknight, we don't usually go out. But I'm gonna make a beef and Guinness stew. I was supposed to have a class on Sunday, but I had to cancel it because I was sick. So I'm going to make that beef and Guinness stew, Guinness and beef stew. Yeah, for sure. That's going to be dinner tonight.
Excellent. This was really great. I'm so glad you spent a little time with us today.
Oh, thank you.
People should visit your website. It is shecooksdesign.com. Shelagh Mullen, thank you so much. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
You too. Thanks so much. Sláinte. Cheers to your health.
Very nice.
I should have had a Guinness here.
I know. We should have been prepared. Where's my whiskey?
Literally.
Where's my Guinness? Where's my Irish whiskey? What are we doing here? Thanks, Shelagh.
I'd ride on over to the local. And
yeah, exactly. We're pretty close. So Donovan's is right up the street from us.
Yep.
That does bring us to our next topic that I want to hear from you about, and that is about Irish pubs. What is your favorite Irish pub? Because people love an Irish pub. 651-461-9226. I don't know if you want to go there tonight. Maybe you do. Do you like crowds? Are you celebrating National Introverts Week? Maybe you don't want to be at one of those. But tell me your favorite. We'll share your tips in just a minute here on Drive Time.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Well, you heard Sheila. If you really want to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, the right thing to do is to have an Irish beef stew. It's Jason for our friends at the Minnesota Pork Board. 3,000 family farmers every corner of the state working so hard to take care of their people, take care of the planet, take care of their team, take care of you. When you go to your grocery store or butcher shop and ask for a great pork shoulder, maybe a rack of ribs, pork tenderloin, always nice when you're trying to have a quick and easy family dinner. Maybe you need some inspiration, though. Pork has a website. The National Pork people put together this beautiful website, tastewhatporkcando.com. Taste what pork can do, and you can type in the cut of pork that you're looking at. Is it bacon? Is it ground pork? Is it a chop, a roast? You can search by meal type, by cooking methods. So many great ideas to kind of bring that flavor and put flavor on the table. Get to that grocery store. Why not? Let's have Minnesota pork for dinner tonight. Oh, yeah.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Don't suffer through foot pain, sore ankles, tired legs, aching back and hips, or sore knees. Call the Good Feet store. The Good Feet Arch Support System is designed to relieve pain and stress in the body with over 350 styles and sizes. Located in Maple Grove, Burnsville, Woodbury, and Roseville. Call 855-554-3338 or stop in for your complimentary fitting. In as little as 40 minutes, you could be walking out pain-free.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Jen, I didn't know you shopped here. Hey, I'm hunting for something fresh for spring. Oh, girl, skip them all. Jewelry Television has the best spring looks right now. JTV, way ahead of you. Just hit up JTV.com yesterday, scored the cutest clover earrings, 2 tennis bracelets, and this gorgeous pearl ring.
Right now, new customers get $20 off any purchase of $99 or more at JTV.com.
Oh, and gold hoops and this turquoise bracelet. Just a couple things, huh? Maybe more than a couple.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce website that could handle the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Problems down in Burnsville, 35W southbound Black Dog Road is where you'll find a crash. Left lane shut down. Traffic is slow as you make way past 106th Street, heading down into the scene of the River Valley and the crash. If you're going to be traveling west 94 to Minneapolis, that slows past Huron Boulevard. 694 westbound on the heavy side, Highway 10 to Highway 252. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
How would you like to solve your water issues at your house? You can with Aquarius because they're an independent Connecticut dealer. The best water you can get. Systems available, $9.95 per month for the first 3 months. I use it every day. AquariusHomeservices.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
CCO forecast brought to you by our friends at Aquarius Home Services, earning the right to be recommended. Light snow around much of the metro, most of it trending to the north and south and east. Minneapolis, St. Paul, the immediate suburbs in the 494 loop, nothing yet. As far as I'm concerned, Dan Cook, keep it out of here. I'm good. Tonight, low is 20. Tomorrow, 41 is the high, so the meltdown starts Thursday, 45, Friday, and Saturday in the 50s. You might see some forecasts in the 60s, 7, I don't know. Right now, it's unpleasant. It's 21 on CCO.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha.
This sounds like torture to me.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
We're getting your favorite Irish pubs. So many options tonight. I love O'Donovan's, right in downtown Minneapolis, right by Target Center. Awesome place. The Local, of course, classic. The Dubliner. I went to the Dubliner in St. Paul for the first time on a recent Sunday night, and there were 9 people sitting there just playing Irish music, just like not like a publicized music night, but it was just happening. It was so cool. Lucky's Tavern in Pequot Lakes. Best Reuben pizza, best fish and chips, says a texter. I like Pequot. Underrated city. It's right up there in the Brainerd Lakes area, just a little bit north of Nisswa and Grandview Lodge.
It's a longtime St. Louis Park resident. There's now a local in St. Louis Park at the West End.
Yeah.
So that's a fun place to go.
It's a nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll drive right by it and wave at everybody as I go home.
A texter says, tonight, you might want to go to Teresa's in Mendota Heights, which is virtually wide open and makes a great margarita in the color of green. Yes, tonight is a good night. Is that the smart move? You go.
I don't think there's anything smart about a green margarita. You can just cross that one off the list.
Fair. But you go to the Mexican restaurant on St. Patrick's Day and go to the Irish pub on Cinco de Mayo. That's reservation maxing. That's like.
Really?
What, I can't.
I mean, you can.
McGarry's Pub in Maple Plains, says a texter. I don't think I've been to McGarry's. I like it. I like that. O'Malley's Irish Pub in Woodbury, Minnesota. Bar and restaurant. It's pretty good. Pretty good. CCO time check. It is 4:57. Continental Diamond bringing us our time checks during drive time with DeRusha. Graduation not too far away. Maybe you're looking for that special gift for a loved one in your life. Check out the perfect watch for that graduate. Continental Diamond, expert guidance ensuring that the lifestyle and your budget align. So check it out, continentaldiamond.com in St. Louis Park. You know, go there, then go to the local, right up the street. You got yourself a pretty good night. DRUSH Hour News Headlines coming up after CBS and local news.
If you have doubts about your retirement readiness, listen to the Retirement Reality Report with Mark Dillon and David Linsky of L3 Family Wealth Partners. Join the Linskys Saturday mornings at 11 right here on WCCO.
I'm here with Alec Sherritt, a top mergers and acquisitions attorney with Helmuth & Johnson. Alec, Minnesota laws can be complex. How do you make sure you're on the right path?
At Helmuth & Johnson, we help businesses and individuals navigate Minnesota's laws with clarity and confidence. We understand how Minnesota's laws and courts work, and we guide you every step of the way.
So it's not just knowing the law, it's knowing Minnesota.
Exactly. Practical advice, local experience, real solutions.
If you're looking to buy or sell a business, go to hjlawfirm.com. Helmuth & Johnson, on your side, at your side.
Hola, amigos! Brad Evans here. Check out this booming voice and Pat Boyle on BetMGM tonight, covering the biggest sports stories from coast to coast, live and interactive on the free Odyssey app, discussing NFL offseason news and getting you ready for the madness in college hoops. BetMGM tonight with me, Brad Evans and Pat Boyle, live and interactive, Monday through Friday night, starting at 6 Eastern, presented by BetMGM. Always live on the free Odyssey app and watch on YouTube at BetMGM tonight.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
When it matters, this is where Minnesota turns. News Talk 830 WCCO.
KMNB HD2, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Streaming now via the iHeart and Apple radio apps.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Oil and gas prices spike as the war with Iran is in its 3rd week. President Trump has been asked about it. CBS's Linda Kenyon with that.
During a visit from the Prime Minister of Ireland, President Trump said the rise in global oil prices, which began with the Iran war, will end very soon.
As soon as that war is over, which will be soon, your prices are going to drop like a rock.
The fluctuations in oil prices come as Iran has blocked commercial shipping from the Strait of Hormuz, prompting the president to call on NATO nations to pitch in and patrol that route. Most have declined. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
CBS's Jim Krasula also reports
the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is now $3.79, according to AAA. That's up 7 cents in just the past day.
I'm getting way less gas and paying way more money.
Average gas prices are now up 90 cents a gallon from a month ago. Jim Krasula, CBS News.
President Trump is rescheduling his planned trip to China amid the war with Iran.
I look forward to seeing President Xi. He looks forward to seeing me, I think. But I do look forward to seeing him. We have a good relationship with China.
The long-planned trip had been scheduled for the end of this month. The president now says it will take place in about 5 or 6 weeks. It's busy at airports around the nation as more TSA employees are calling in sick amid the partial government shutdown. CBS's Allison Keyes has more.
It's a little busy at Denver International Airport, with passengers waiting in really long TSA lines. This traveler is a little surprised, despite the level of workers not showing up or getting paid.
I've been traveling for 38 years since I was young, and this is nuts. I've never seen DIA like this.
Wait times at airports in Chicago and Austin are running around an hour. Allison Keyes, CBS News.
U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth has ordered the restoration of employment to about 1,000 Voice of America employees who were put on leave a year ago by Kari Lake, granting a preliminary injunction sought by former employees. Voters in Illinois head to the polls to decide their candidate for governor. Democrat Dick Durbin's U.S. Senate seat and several U.S. House seats that haven't been open in decades. Among the candidates in the Democratic primary for Senator Durbin's seat are 2 sitting House members and the lieutenant governor. More from CBS's Aaron Navarro.
All the 3 candidates there who are leading in all the polls virtually don't have many differences. They're all very progressive. But when it comes to the topic, the message of abolishing ICE, which has resonated in the Chicagoland area, specifically after Operation Midway Blitz and the protests outside the Broadview Detention Center, there are some differences.
This is CBS News.
What is going on?
What's going on here?
How is this possible? Great storytelling starts here.
Oh, come on.
Why? It's time for 60.
Minnesota's trusted voice. Every hour. Let's get you caught up with what's happening now on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Cloudy and 21 degrees at 5:03. Good afternoon. I'm Mark Fry. Governor Tim Walz today unveiling his 2026 supplemental budget proposal amid a rising cost of living in Minnesota.
Walz introduced a fiscal plan that seeks to balance expansive middle-class tax relief with strategic spending cuts and new levies on the technology sector. The proposal prioritizes lowering household costs through expanded child care credits and the state's first ever sales tax cut.
There's no reason that sales tax can't be expanded to broader numbers so that the people who are at the top can pay a little bit on that and the folks at the bottom can see a reduction in the sales tax.
The package also discusses some recovery strategies for businesses in the wake of Operation Metro Surge. The plan will now go on to face a closely divided legislature. In St. Paul, I'm Taylor Rivera. News Talk 830. WCCO.
Minnesota Department of Human Services Commissioner Shreen Gandhi says they're making progress when it comes to addressing fraud and how the department handles investigations. This comes after the Minnesota Legislative Auditor today released a report showing DHS declined to investigate 3 complaints of kickback allegations in its early intensive developmental and behavioral intervention program that provides help to children with autism. Commissioner Gandhi says past investigations were stalled by legal disagreements and that the current budget proposal from Governor Walz would outline the department's explicit authority and avoid any future confusion on the issue.
At this point in time, DHS agrees with the OLA. We are pursuing legislation, and if that doesn't happen, we will do rulemaking, but legislation is the faster path.
A new lawsuit filed today looks to address the number of sworn police officers within the city of Minneapolis. Upper Midwest Law Center managing attorney Rachel Paulos says that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey has not complied with a 2022 ruling by the Minnesota Supreme Court to employ 731 sworn officers.
It is time for action. And there are certainly things that the city can do to incentivize people applying to the Minneapolis Police Department and the right kind of people applying, because it's in everybody's interest for the best, the brightest, the most public-spirited people applying to those kinds of positions.
The lawsuit shows the city has 630 sworn officers. In a statement, city spokesperson Jess Olstad writes the city of Minneapolis rejects allegations that the number of police officers has been suppressed. That is far from the truth. In fact, significant recruitment and retention efforts currently show the city's on track to have over 700 officers in 2027, end quote. They also note that staffing at MPD stands at 617 sworn officers below that 630 that was cited in the lawsuit, with 32 currently going through the academy. It's 5:06, traffic and weather next.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
South 35W, Black Dog Road, accident in the left lane, now moved off to the right shoulder, and the snow's coming down a little bit more in that stretch. Get ready for your slowdowns. You come down from 98th Street, traveling 494, got your slowdowns in the Bloomington stretch, both directions between 169 and Cedar, crosstown eastbound, watching heavy stuff there from 169 to 35W. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
Washburn-McCreevy Funeral Chapels and Cremation Services has been providing compassionate and personalized service for over 160 years. Honor your loved one and ensure your own wishes are met. Call 612-377-2203 or visit washburnmccreevy.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
Weather's brought to you by Washburn-McCreevy Funeral, Cremation, and Pre-Planning Services. Here's Chris Schaefer.
A round of light snow passing tonight. Emphasis on the word light. 1 to 2 inches, but it could create some slick spots that could last into the morning commute as well. Temperatures actually warming overnight. Tomorrow we're near average. Mostly cloudy with a high of 41. Mid-40s Thursday. Into the 50s Friday and Saturday.
Cloudy and 21 at News Talk 830 WCCO.
All kinds of talk for all kinds of people.
Well, it's just one big happy family, isn't it?
News Talk 830 WCCO. He knows news. He knows talk. He knows nonsense, too. So get ready for a lot of each. This is Drive Time with DeRusha. Once again, here's Jason DeRusha.
All right, a little bit of light snow coming down. It's not green snow. You would think on St. Patrick's Day we would have a little more participation from the precipitation department. No such luck. Green here in the studio, though. I'm wearing green. Fry is wearing green. Shut up and drive. Mark, you look fabulous.
I have my St. Patrick Swayze's t-shirt under this, and yeah, it's a good day to celebrate.
It is a good day to celebrate. You had an update on a story that we're going to go a little in depth on in about 15 minutes. Because this deal with school threats in a school district having to close, right? Like, was this?
Yeah, it seems like it's happening all the time now.
This district, it happened twice over the last year.
Yeah, and someone got charged in December for making these threats. And a little different story here this morning. So it kind of started unfolding, I think, 3:30-ish this morning is from what I've been hearing. But Eagan police say that the threats made towards it. Now, this is the story that's kind of given me anxiety as a news broadcaster. Rosemount or Rosemont, we'll get to that later. Apple Valley, Eagan schools, they say those threats were not credible and came from out of state and that the FBI is investigating it. They feel that school is safe for staff and students to return to tomorrow. So the good news there, FBI is investigating, but it seems like these threats not credible.
That's good.
And, yeah, and it's you just worry about what could happen, especially in this day of an age, social media, all this stuff, what's coming up.
And that's what we're going to go in depth on with a national expert, because it is, I feel for these school administrators because on the one hand, the safest move is just to say like, well, better safe than sorry, we got to cancel school. But the other side of this is like, are you just going to let kind of goofballs who are making not credible threats, just trying to mess with you, take over school for 29,000 kids? Like, I don't know that that's the right answer either.
Especially on just like a random Tuesday after a big snowstorm where maybe there were some impacts yesterday in the district. I mean, it's a costly sort of move to have all these kids stay home. Parents have to make adjustments, things like that.
Now, you're a new dad.
I am, yeah.
And
newish.
Newish. I mean, how old is your...
just over a year and a half. So I'm still in the new...
You're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So we were just talking before, on St. Patrick's Day, I have a profound memory of being just mystified by the magic of my father, who every year my mom would make homemade Irish soda bread. We had corned beef and cabbage. And my dad would get a beer, and my dad wasn't a big drinker, but he would get a beer in a glass, clear glass, pop the top, pour it into the glass, and it would turn green. And I could never figure out. I'm like trying to figure it out, right? Because it was magic.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's a great trick.
And here, still today, I think. So one day I finally asked him, I'm like, how, like as a grown up, I'm like, I want to do this for my kids. Like, what's the secret? He's like, seriously? What's the secret? I'm like, yeah. How did you do it? He's like, well, I took a toothpick and got a little green food coloring and just rimmed it around the glass at the bottom of the glass, and that was it. I'm like, well, I never saw. He's like, yeah, you were looking at the beer when I was pouring it out. You weren't really looking. I'm like, oh,
nicely done. I mean, that's impressive.
So you can do that for your own child.
Maybe in a couple years. I'll have to get the act down and get the cape and stuff.
That's right. You will admit it is the power that parents have over their kids. The little things.
Very little for a very short amount of time. I've been told.
It's true.
The power does not last.
That
long.
runs out at about age 8. Although I was a very naive child, apparently it stuck with me for years. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
No problem.
It's 5:11. Let's get you up to date on some of the other stories we're keeping an eye on in the DeRush Hour News Headlines.
The headlines you might have missed without missing a beat. This is your fast pass through the biggest and most impactful stories of the day. Welcome to the DeRush Hour Headlines, starting with the lead.
And our lead story sure sounds good, doesn't it? The governor of Minnesota proposing what would be the first ever sales tax cut in the... Oh, yeah! Bring it! Who's ready for a tax cut? Oh, baby. When I heard that story from Taylor Rivera earlier today during the Chad Hartman show, I thought, there's got to be a catch, right? There's got to be a catch. The governor's proposal would cut the statewide sales tax by 0.075%, which is not nothing, but 0.075% is close to nothing. And then it would replace that by expanding the sales tax to include services. So when you use a banker or an investor or a lawyer or an accountant, the idea is that middle-class people aren't doing tax accounting services. They're not using an investment banker. And so those services in a service economy should be taxed. I mean, don't tell me you're cutting taxes when you're not cutting taxes. Although, would it be cut for some people? Sure. The state tax, sales tax, I believe, is 6.875%, and then different counties and cities and taxing districts add on top of that. Pretty interesting. In a House that's evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats, I think you can safely assume that a supplemental budget, that these proposals are mostly dead on arrival. Amazon today. Remember when Amazon Prime meant you would actually get delivery the next day? Well, now Amazon is saying, well, what if you really meant it? Like, if you really wanted to get, say, 1 hour delivery. Yeah, you'd pay. Would you pay? Maybe. Man, remember the days that we would either go to the store and then you get immediate delivery, or, what's the hurry? What do you need in 1 hour? Dan Cook, is there ever anything in your life where you're like, I need this in 1 hour?
No, I mean, not really.
Toilet paper, maybe, if you ran out? An hour might not be fast enough.
I hoarded before the storm, so it's fine.
Amazon is seeing increased competition from Walmart. They're saying, what if we offered pantry staples, clothing? Well, I guess, you know what? The only time, see, now I'm talking myself into this. Because clothing, you could.
It's so weird because you never do that.
You could see clothing, like if you went on vacation and forgot something, you could Amazon it to you. Also, you know what you could do? Go to the dang store!
There is that, yeah.
What? We just want everything. We are such a nation of contradictions, aren't we? We're concerned about the environment, except we've got somebody driving boxes directly to our house all the time.
So I'm trying to keep track. Have you talked yourself back out of it again now?
Now I'm out.
So you were out, and then you were in, and now you're back out.
I don't ever need anything that
Okay.
dramatic.
I'm just making sure.
1-hour delivery slots. The charge would be $5 if you're an Amazon Prime member. How about this, Amazon? How about you actually deliver stuff next day with Prime? That was fun. Remember when we got that? Now I feel like I never get stuff next day. Again, I'm saying like I'm not in that much of a hurry, but I'm paying for it, so I want it when I want it. We would be remiss if we did not wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. Free rides by Metro Transit tonight, and by the looks of things on Rice Park in St. Paul at 1 p.m. when I went outside to visit with some of the people hanging out at the parade. Those free rides could not come soon enough. One of the interesting things to me about St. Patrick's Day when it comes to drunk driving is that this is not a major day for arresting people for driving drunk. And part of that is because people plan for it. So around Christmas, around Thanksgiving, you see much higher levels of drunk driving arrests. But people are planning ahead. I would imagine later tonight. I'm still sort of making up my mind. Do I go to McGovern's? Do I go to O'Donovan's? Or do I leave that for the youngs? You know, am I too old for that nonsense? I feel like the olds are in this 3 to 6 window right now, and then you call it, and then you leave it for the youngs. Let the young people have their fun. Interesting story in the Twin Cities Pioneer Press today, talking about a change in Stillwater when it comes to middle school sports. In Stillwater, there is conversation about getting rid of middle school sports and moving them to community ed. When I was in middle school, the only sports you had basketball. That was it. There was a middle school basketball team. I think maybe there was cross country. Stillwater Area School District, according to Mary Devine at the Pioneer Press, is facing a $5+ million deficit. And so they're going to keep the same sports, keep the same coaches, but they say it'll save the district about $250,000. Community Ed already runs the middle school ski club, the theater programs. Middle schoolers, my mixed feeling on this is I do think middle school kids should have the opportunity to take part in recreational sports. Our youth sports ecosystem in this country has gotten so professional almost, where you got to be elite. And 7th and 8th graders are already on varsity programs in some levels or playing at the high school level. So having young people playing more sports, I think, is a good thing. But like middle school doesn't need to be high school, right? I think if you could save music programs and art programs at that level, it would be worth it. But more problems for lots of school districts when they look at figuring out the budget in the coming years. In a minute, we will go in depth on that story that we were talking about with Mark Fry at the top of the hour. One of our larger school districts calling off classes today because of threats. Thought to be credible, now deemed not credible. How, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Schools and these decisions, how they make them. We'll talk to a national expert next.
You're listening to Drive Time with DeRusha. Video streaming live on YouTube and always on your radio at News Talk 830 WCCO.
When is the last time you had a full-body skin checkup? Have you ever had a full-body skin checkup? It's Jason. For my friends at Tureen Dermatology, Dr. Mohiba Tureen is my dermatologist. And I'm telling you, if you have never had that full-body skin checkup, especially if you have a family history of skin cancer, don't mess around, man. Early detection can be critical to taking care of any potential issue before it becomes a more major concern, even life-threatening. Minnesota, one of the top 3 states in the country when it comes to melanoma diagnosis, which can be really nasty stuff. But if they find it early, they have great success. And Dr. Mohiba Tareen is the best. Tareen Dermatology is top notch. 10 locations all over the Twin Cities. If you go right now to Tareen, Tareen, dermatology.com, one website will get you the ability to request an appointment at any of those 10 locations. And one of the things I love about Dr. Mohiba Tareen, besides how awesome and kind and loving she is the fact that they save appointments for new clients and for listeners of Drive Time with DeRusha. So let them know you hear me talk about Tareen Dermatology on CCO Radio and get in there and get that full body skin checkup. Tareen is TAREEN dermatology.com.
Every business starts with an idea. With Smart Business Buying from Amazon Business, get everything you need to grow in one familiar place. From office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools. Ready to bring your visions to life? Learn how at AmazonBusiness.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
When you're in pain, you need the Good Feet store. Don't waste another minute suffering from foot pain, sore ankles, tired legs, aching back and hips, or sore knees. Call the Good Feet store. You might feel the difference immediately.
I walked right into the Good Feet store and I tried the Good Feet Arch Support System, and my hip pain is gone.
The Good Feet Arch Support System is designed to put your foot in the most ideal position, redistributing the body weight more evenly, helping to relieve pain and stress in the body.
That nagging pain in my lower back, gone.
The Good Feet store has over 350 styles and sizes to relieve your pain.
I've always had bad knees. I've had 6 surgeries and I could never do a knee bend. Now I'm working out and it's just wonderful.
Located in Maple Grove, Burnsville, Woodbury, and Roseville. Call 855-554-3338 or stop in for your complimentary fitting. In as little as 40 minutes, you could be walking out pain-free.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hard-working partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
My car smells fresh, so fresh, always so fresh every day. My car smells fresh, so fresh, like I cleaned it yesterday. Got the Febreze car on the vents, living life with that just clean freshness. Febreze car, if you know, you know. Up to 40 days a cent on low. My car smells fresh, so fresh, always so fresh every day. My car smells fresh, so fresh, like I cleaned it yesterday. That's right, breathe happy Febreze, la 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 la.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
DRUSH Hour News Headlines going in depth this evening on an issue that really is a tough one for so many school districts all around Minnesota and western Wisconsin. Today, school was canceled in Rosemount, Apple Valley, Eagan, that school district, after they said they received threats to multiple schools that came in over the phone, left on their voicemail, discovered in the very early morning hours today. We wanted some insight on really the best practices and how schools kind of work through this stuff. Adam Kaufran is the president of Safe Kids Incorporated. He's with us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. Adam, this is a tough situation. You can go one way with the better safe than sorry at all threats, but schools really have to sort of analyze this, right? So they don't let threats sort of just wipe out instruction days and let the threateners win, right?
That's correct. For so many school administrators, they are weighing the balance of student safety versus the credibility of the threat. And then also versus, just the continuity of business, for lack of better terms. How many school days or school hours are we going to disrupt? How many families are we going to disrupt if we are sending students home, if it's mid-school day, versus, a shelter-in-place or a lockdown in school to disrupt the instructional hours, or canceling school even before students show up? And then better yet, how long does the threat last? Is it 1 day? Is it 2 days? And so it's really for them trying to balance in between the safety of students and the credibility of the threat.
How do you even weigh that, right? Because every threat sounds like it might be credible. You really have no idea.
That's correct. And so some threats for some administrators may come from the form of, is it a familiar voice on the phone? Does it sound like, is it a student?
Yeah.
Do they have information that would be unique to someone local in the area, or maybe someone that is a student? It could be something as simple as building names or something that's very local that someone would know, versus something that might be more generic. So someone that might be out of the area, out of the state, or even, as we've seen before, even out of the country, in a swatting type situation where they're looking to disrupt local areas. They're looking for a large local law enforcement or EMS response to something like this. So there can be some clues to just how credible it is.
It's so hard, Adam, because if you guess wrong, I mean, right? Like the job of a school administrator or a principal today, I just think like it's such an impossible situation. Today you have, I don't know, 29,000 students, who knows how many parents, families we're sort of scrambling today. But, if you guess wrong and there's some sort of incident, I mean, my goodness, how do you live with yourself? It's tough.
Well, and, we say, the role of educators today is so vastly different than it was even 20 years ago. And trying to balance all of the things that school administrators have to do from an education point of view. But so many of them aren't, certificated in safety and security. And so they're trying to make decisions for something that they didn't go to school for, that they aren't, and many can argue that they should not be experts in. So often they're leaning on law enforcement to try to help them navigate the waters and to make the correct decision. And local law enforcement, while a resource and will try to absolutely help them, they also have their parameters that they can't necessarily always make a business decision for them unless there's some clear and present signs and indicators which they can make the call to shut something down. So it's a little bit of a balancing act with the information they have. And like you said, I can always err on the side of caution and disrupt some local, whether it's a school day, instructional hours, because the alternative is if it's dismissive and we don't take that action and now people are harmed or worse, that's a much harder issue to answer for than to disrupt a school day.
Yeah, no doubt. But we also realize, and you were a police officer for many years, like you understand some of this analysis that gets done. Is this credible? Is it not? At the same time, if kids understand that they can make a threat, if they think they can get away with it, masking their phone number, their IP address, or whatever. And look, I mean, when I'm 51 and kids were pulling this kind of stuff when we were young, right? Like trying to get out of finals or whatever. So this is it is a balancing act, I feel, for everybody all the way around. This district has canceled schools twice over this school year because of threats. I mean, it's tough, man.
It is. And one of the things that to keep in mind, and whether it's a deterrent, if it's a student-driven threat or not, is that this is a crime. Making that type of threat is a criminal act in virtually every state. So even though, on the outset it might be, to your point, we're trying to get out of finals and I didn't study and phoning in whether it's a bomb threat or whether it's an active shooter threat or even a vague threat, there is going to be law enforcement investigation action behind it. And whereas a few years ago or even decades ago, it may have been a different crime, in today's world, that is taken seriously, and that is an elevated crime that is going to be investigated, and people are going to be accountable not only criminally, but also potentially in the civil realm for the loss of hours, for the resources used, and everything else that it impacted because of that threat.
Adam Kaufred is the president of Safe Kids Incorporated. You do training and education all over the country, trying to get schools and businesses and organizations sort of in the right headspace on this stuff. If you were a parent tonight in this school district, I do think this is, to your last point, this is a teaching opportunity around the dinner table tonight. What would you tell your students who are in this district, about the reason that schools were canceled today and sort of the importance and the seriousness of threats today?
Well, it goes a little bit, I think, by the age group. Obviously, the younger the students, if we're looking at elementary spaces, that your teachers and that your principals are doing everything to keep you safe, and that, sometimes there's some hurtful people in the world, and sometimes it's safer to be home, and sometimes that, our teachers are doing everything to keep us safe. So it's very much a much lower key conversation about safety and those types of things, and being safe and feeling safe. But whereas you get into middle school and especially in high school, it's a little bit more of a poignant conversation, and it's really twofold. Number one, yes, your teachers and your administrators do care about you, and in fact, they care about you so enough they are willing to cancel a school day for your safety. And that's important, especially for a lot of high schoolers, to feel that their principals and their teachers do care about them, that it goes beyond a drill. It goes beyond, the things that they have to do sometimes in routine. And this is where they are actually putting into practice the things that they have done throughout the school year. But the second part is that if they hear their friends talking about this stuff, if their friends think that it's a joke or a prank, to say something before the threat comes out. If they hear their friends talking about they're going to do it, say something to someone beforehand so we can stop that. And if it's an administrative, hey, you're suspended for a couple of days, or you get talked to, or you get counseled, or whatever the consequence may be, is far better than canceling a school day and criminal action against your friend. You're not being a snitch. You're actually helping your friend from getting into far worse trouble than they would otherwise.
Really good advice. Adam Coffran from Safe Kids. Really appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Lendseek.
NVIDIA and Meta Platforms unveiled an AI infrastructure partnership in which the Facebook and Instagram parent is going to use NVIDIA's data center processors, including NVIDIA's new Grace semiconductors. Meta has also adopted NVIDIA's confidential computing to enhance AI privacy features in WhatsApp. Meta plans to spend up to $135 billion on AI data centers this year. I'm Jason Brooks.
If you own a small business, the pressure never lets up. Something's always coming at you. That's why business owners turn to Lendseek for funding.
I don't need promises. I need options. Lendseek's AI platform showed me real funding choices. Now I can cover payroll, handle taxes, and go after growth opportunities without the daily stress.
Up to $5 million with funding in as fast as 24 hours. No upfront costs. No prepayment penalties. Start ready, stay ready. Lendseek.com. LENDSEEK.com.
Mike Rowe here with another random fact. Those cracks on your walls aren't just cosmetic. They could mean your home is sinking. Whether it's drywall cracks, exterior cracks, or sticking doors or windows, do yourself a favor. Call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to stabilize your foundation. Innovative Basement Authority is now Groundworks. Schedule a free inspection.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I opened a restaurant and needed everything. Menus, signage, catering brochures.
Everything and then some.
I went to Staples. They printed it all and even suggested takeout menus.
One money pit with a side of fries.
But now at Staples, you get up to $125 off custom print orders.
$125 off. Now you're cooking. Brand your business in a big way at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in store, online, or in the app by 4/4 to unlock. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
Got some light snow falling across the metro. Be prepared for that. Make sure you're buckled up and the headlights are on. Got your crash clearing out of the way. South 35W Black Dog Road. Slowdowns, though, still in place past 98th Street. Still some slowing to travel. 94 westbound into Minneapolis past Huron Boulevard. Crosstown westbound jamming up past 34th Avenue to 35W. Jerry Peterson, News Talk 830 WCCO.
You sit on your deck and you're sick of looking at your crappy siding.
Type JTR on your computer for roofing, siding, gutters, windows, and more. JTR Roofing has you covered from the roof on down, serving the Twin Cities Metro. For a free estimate, visit jtrroofinginc.com.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
CCO forecast brought to you by JTR Roofing. Let's check in as the snow is falling. You heard it from JP. Here's Chris Schaefer.
Light snow possible into the night tonight. You're not going to have to clear a lot of it in the morning. 1 to 2 inches possible. Temperatures actually warming as we sleep tonight. Mostly cloudy, 41 tomorrow. That will feel nice, even though it's right around average. We surpass average Thursday. Partly cloudy, mid-40s, up into the 50s Friday and Saturday.
The current temperature at the Toy Box Saloon in Kilkenny, Minnesota is 18 degrees here on CCO.
Drive Time with DeRusha.
Please call into the Jason DeRusha Show.
Let's go.
If you have something to say to the people of Minnesota, say it on the radio.
On News Talk 830 WCCO.
All right, let's talk about luck. It is St. Patrick's Day. I don't know where you guys are on luck. I go back and forth on this to nobody's surprise. I believe that as a society, we way underestimate the value of luck. I feel very lucky. I feel like my life has been lucky. I feel lucky in so many ways. I want to know from you, do you believe in luck? And what is the luckiest moment of your life? 651-461-9226. Do you believe in luck? We talk about the luck of the Irish. I'm supposed to pinch Dan, I think, because he's not wearing green, but I know better than to physically touch Dan in any way. I think we buy into this American exceptionalism. We buy into this idea that if you work hard enough, anybody can be a self-made woman or man. And, well, I think in many ways that opportunity is greater in America than it is in just about any other country in the world. It discounts the value of luck. And when I use the word luck, I'm not saying dumb luck. I'm not saying you're somebody who stumbles into a circumstance and things just come up perfect for you. What I'm thinking about when I think about luck, for example, as you know, I host a radio show. I've had a good career as a broadcaster. When I was 8 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a broadcaster. And I have met so many young people along the way who also want, more than anything else, to be a broadcaster. And sometimes your skills don't line up. You just don't have the voice, or you don't have the presence, or you don't have the magic. And it stinks. It stinks because in many ways you can work hard and get good, but you can't be great. Luck is part of that. Now, did I work on this? Yeah. Yes, of course. One of the advantages of knowing what you want to do when you're young is that you have a few more years to work on it. But I'd be lying if I said, oh, there is no luck. You make your own luck. Well, I believe you take advantage of luck. You take advantage of when things present them. But I think luck has so much to do with whether you succeed, whether you fail. Again, you got to have the skills. You have to be ready to take advantage of it. But think of, I don't know, have you guys ever seen that movie Sliding Doors? It's a Gwyneth Paltrow movie. I think it's from the mid-'90s. And it brings up this sort of thesis of like, okay, how things would be different if you were a couple seconds later or a couple seconds earlier to a various circumstance. You know, I'm married to the same woman that I asked out to go to a church polka festival in Milwaukee. And I was thinking about this last weekend or 2 weekends ago when we were back visiting Marquette again and visiting Alyssa's uncle, who was a math professor at that time. If Alyssa's uncle wasn't a math professor at Marquette, would she have gone there? Probably not. If her dad didn't work for General Mills and they moved him from Raleigh, North Carolina, back to the headquarters here in the Twin Cities. If Pete Banahy didn't get a job transfer Alyssa's junior year of high school, there's no way she would have gone to Marquette. You think, how different would my life have been? Well, how is that anything other than luck? Like, that is luck, the way that sort of shook out. I would say for me, the luckiest thing about my life was that Alyssa said yes to that date all those years ago. Because how different would my life have been? I can guarantee you that I would not be in this moment, in this space right now, if I didn't meet Alyssa all those years ago, because my life would have just gone in a different way. Maybe I would still be in the Quad Cities because I liked that first job of mine. Who knows? And she was like, it's time to move on. Now, maybe things still would have, maybe, but like, did I work hard to get a job in Minnesota because Alyssa's family was here? It was part of why I had the opportunity to kind of knock on some doors here and get interviews and end up at Channel 4. Now, Audrey raises the relevant point. Is this luck or is it fate? How do you come down on that?
Well, so when I think of luck, I think of a few things. One, where I don't believe it is in the sense of like a skill. You know, like we think some people are particularly lucky, like, you know, walking around with the horseshoe.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. That kind of luck.
I don't buy that at all.
The leprechaun.
I've seen, there's somebody I'm very close to who seemed throughout his life to be so, I mean, just to escape problems and, you know, everything just sort of went right for this guy, you know?
Yeah.
And then he got later in his adulthood and he's gotten clobbered a handful of times. So, you know, I don't want to say it evens out, but it's clearly not something innate to him. It was just sort of how life ran for him, both, you know, young and old. I do believe that, we talked about this a little bit the other day, we have a sense that we are in control of our lives to a ridiculous degree.
Yes.
There's actually very little in our lives that we have the kind of control over that we like to think that we do. And so in the sense that, you know, you hit a fork in the road and you go left and it works out, would it have worked out if you went right, or you go right and it doesn't work out? Yeah, I think the sense of luck reminds us just how little control we have over so many things in our lives. Because, and no doubt, meeting Alyssa and asking her out on that date was a seminal point in your life.
Right.
But how many points in your life could you point to and say, well, if I had done this differently, or if this hadn't worked out, you know, life would have been, you know, and that's.
Yes.
So, yes, I mean, good fortune.
What if I went to Drake? Like, my final schools I was looking at was Marquette or Drake.
Yeah.
And so what if I went to Des Moines? Who knows
how
my life.
You just have no idea.
Yeah.
And
it probably would be fine. Although, maybe it wouldn't. You just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think of it more of I've led a very blessed life. If you want to call it lucky, I guess you could call it that too. But, you know, a lot of things that could have gone terribly poorly didn't for me. And winding me up here with this job for 25 years when that's never how the radio business works is a huge blessing. So, you know, call it whatever you want. I think the key point in all of it to me is control and our lack thereof.
So when you look up in the dictionary, what is the definition of luck?
Mm-hmm.
Luck is often perceived as a force that shapes life circumstance, so like fortune, success, accidents, While often seen as random, luck is also described as the intersection of opportunity and preparation.
That's an old coaching maxim.
Yeah. I don't know. So a texter is saying that I met my wife due to chance. So isn't luck just sort of a positive way of describing chance?
I think it's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
If you met your wife and the marriage went horribly and it was a terrible divorce and all of that, you wouldn't say you were lucky.
It's just, well, it's just bad luck. It's still luck.
Well,
but
or
so
there you
yeah,
go.
saying
So it is.
chance. I mean, maybe I'm I don't know if all these things are necessarily that different, but what
not
we're
really.
describing is that
No,
this
not really, but
sense of a lack of control.
Where they differ is not in their meaning, it's in the connotation, right? It's in how we use them and how we spin them and how we think about them. And again, for me, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but that all goes back to this idea of we want to think that there's something good guiding and controlling, and we like to think that we have a very strong influence on that, and I don't know that we really do have as much influence as we'd like to think we do.
Texters say, I don't care to call it luck. I call it blessings, as you indicated.
Yeah.
That said, I do think a person has to make their own luck. I think you have to make the circumstance to take advantage when luck presents itself. But I also think sometimes you're just damn lucky.
Yeah.
Things just line up. Like you get offered the job instead of somebody else. Or your stock goes up and somebody else's doesn't.
It's not that we don't have an influence in our lives to a degree. But I think the make our own luck kind of thing is this. I'm actually way more in control than we actually are.
Yeah. I think the circumstances that present themselves, you have to, I mean, there is a certain degree of being ready for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've also found some comfort in sort of surrendering myself to the fact that I can't always create the moment. You have to be ready.
That's it. That's 100% it. You can be ready for the moment, but you don't get to decide when the moment happens. And the moment may never happen.
That's right. And that's not your fault.
No.
It may be your fault if you're not prepared to take advantage, but then it may not be.
Well, that's just it. And there's also, that's another way, right? That if it's our fault that this thing that we wanted didn't work out, then that gives us some feeling of control over the situation, which we may
even
not
when you're
actually
negative,
have.
when you're blaming yourself.
Exactly. That's still trying to seize a hold of control.
Texters say, Jason, you met your wife due to chance. Had circumstances gone differently, you'd probably still be happily married, just to a different woman. I do believe, like, when it comes to love, I'm not one that believes that we all have our one person out there. I don't believe that. So I do think that I probably would be happily married. But I also think it's possible that, like, what if I just was like a himbo, I was thinking of a different way of describing it, which was worse, so I landed on himbo.
Okay.
I thought man whore is probably not.
That would definitely be worse. Yes, no, you were
So
correct in that assessment on your part. Good job.
Texters saying, I feel lucky and I'm grateful I did not turn out to be a serial killer. Well, I do think you do have maybe a little more control in that, but not, mental illness.
Some, yes.
You never know.
We all make good or bad choices.
I believe in providence more than luck, says another texter. Can't explain it with my finite mind, but I believe in a God who has a plan we may not understand. I go back and forth on that stuff, right? Because I don't know.
Yeah, we could get all deep theological if we wanted to on
There's
that.
a couple texts about that, the God's plan text. I'm just not willing to assign to God the bad plan that plays out. So I think people often are willing.
I think God sets us on a path.
Individually, or you think collectively?
No, I think individually. I think God sets us on a path. But he's given us the freedom to walk that path to a degree how we see fit. And so we can make good choices and we can make bad choices. And to the degree God, in whatever way that the quote-unquote plan works, can intervene on our behalf, I believe he does. But just as with parents, sometimes you got to let the kids, make their mistakes. I think God lets us make mistakes. I think God's always there trying to bring good out of those mistakes, but, he's got to let us. We're only free to choose the good stuff to the degree we're free to choose the bad stuff. And unfortunately, we choose a lot of the bad stuff.
Yeah. $5.50. Good tax. Good text. Lots more coming in. Keep it coming. Do you believe in luck? 651-461-9226. Drive time on St. Patrick's Day. Back in a minute.
This is Drive Time with DeRusha on News Talk 830 WCCO.
Don't leave your insurance choices up to luck. That's for sure. It's Jason here for the Canopy Group. Love the relationship that I've had with the Canopy Group over the last couple of years. I started out as a customer just like you, just listening to CCO. I heard the number 800-967-3389. And this idea, I love to comparison shop and make sure I'm getting the best deal. But I don't just want the cheapest deal. I want the best coverage, the best deal. And the Canopy Group gives peace of mind because they take your situation, your life, your home, your cars, your family, your zip code, and they run it through 16 different companies. A lot of us are one guy, one gal, one company. That's how 86% of Minnesotans do their insurance. For me, I like knowing that the Canopy Group has 50 professionals ready to help whenever you need it. And they have those 16 companies. They're all great, but they're just going to get you the best deal, the best coverage, and the best price. You can get a quote. Oh, by the way, they saved me $820 in my first year. So better coverage and save me $800. Sign me up. And I did. TheCanopyGroup.com. You can get a quote online. TheCanopyGroup.com.
To all the fans who are regular users of the voice message feature on the Odyssey app,
If you're going to be critical on both ends.
we say you're welcome.
I am absolutely sick of paying more and more, outreaching inflation by far.
Now, to those of you who haven't tried it yet, we ask, what are you waiting for?
We should definitely be able to charge the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good.
Flip the microphone right next to the Listen Live button and record your thoughts.
Hey, who is ever on the radio right now? What a buffoon.
Whatever you want.
Thought I would try out this voice messaging on Odyssey.
For News Talk 830 WCCO.
At Wealth Enhancement, we believe wealth is in the details. Our team of trusted advisors craft personalized solutions to help you achieve your financial goals. Tune in to the Your Money Show on News Talk 830 WCCO every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. or go to wealthenhancement.com to connect with one of our advisors.
Who doesn't want to sleep better? March is Better Sleep Month, and the answer to better sleep is found at minileaf.com. Jordana Green here, and Mini Leaf has your answer to sleeping all night long, going to sleep faster, and waking up feeling more refreshed and rested. At minileaf.com, you'll find the Sleep Night Gummies and the Sleep Night Gummies Plus. The Sleep Night Gummies have been discounted $5 on the website for March. The folks at Minileaf really want you to sleep better. Now, this is one of my favorite products, those Sleep Night Gummies. I give them out to friends or anybody who tells me that they're having trouble sleeping because I know they really work. I use them when I feel like I might have a restless night, but they're also non-addictive, so I don't need them every night. Please try for yourself. You'll thank me. Minileaf.com, Minnesota's home of its best legal products and the home for better sleep. Minileaf.com. Tell them Jordana sent you.
I'm back to doing what I love and more. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Don't suffer through foot pain, sore ankles, tired legs, aching back and hips, or sore knees. Call the Good Feet store. The Good Feet Arch Support System is designed to relieve pain and stress in the body with over 350 styles and sizes. Located in Maple Grove, Burnsville, Woodbury, and Roseville. Call 855-554-3338 or stop in for your complimentary fitting. In as little as 40 minutes, you could be walking out pain-free.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
If you love sports, this is the show for you. It's You Better You Bet with me, Nick Costos. Weekday mornings 9 to noon Eastern on the free Odyssey app and YouTube at The Costos. Bringing you the biggest NFL news, guests, and notes from the offseason while getting you ready to win the madness of college hoops. It's You Better You Bet with me, Nick Costos. Live and interactive Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, presented by BetMGM. Download the Odyssey app and listen from anywhere for sports talk from people who love sports.
We get it. Attention spans just aren't what they used to be. Heads in social media and eyes on Netflix. But what do people do with their ears? Well, for one, they're listening to audio. Americans spend 4.4 hours with audio every day. Oh, and you want the proof? Well, you just sat through this ad that's now approaching 30 seconds. What could you say to a potential customer in 30 seconds? Let Odyssey put together a media plan tailor-made for your unique marketing needs. Advertise with Odyssey. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
Time to find out how it's moving on the roads and what's moving in via the skies. This is traffic and weather together on CCO, starting with a check of the commute.
And brought to you by Linda's Construction, lindasconstruction.com, East 94 near Nicollet Avenue. Got a crash off to the right side. Patrol has arrived on the scene. Get ready for your slowdowns and make way through Lowry Hill Tunnel. And slowdowns on 394 right now. It is basically both directions between downtown and Highway 100. 494 eastbound, some slowing is moving between 100 and Cedar Avenue. Protect your home before spring storms arrive. Choose GAF Asphalt Shingles and receive free installation labor this March. Go to lindasconstruction.com. Jerry Peterson, Utah 830 WCCO.
Hungry? Go to Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Egan for real Texas barbecue. All meats smoked fresh in-house daily. You can dine in, take out, have it delivered, or have your event catered anywhere in the metro. Just go to Dickeys.com. Dickey's Barbecue Pit of Egan, the Twin Cities catering leader.
Now, the latest conditions and the outlook for the next few days with your CCO forecast.
CCO forecast brought to you by Dickey's. Light snow in the metro, out to the north and to the east and the south. Nothing west, so it'll be out of here 1 to 2 inches by the time all is done. Tonight, the low is 20. Tomorrow, 41. Thursday, 45 and warmer this weekend. Continental Diamond time check. It is 5:57. You want to get lucky? Go check out the unbelievable engagement ring selection at Continental Diamond. Thank you guys so much for listening today. Great text, great interaction. Best way to stay lucky is by listening to Henry Lake for the next couple hours of the Lake Show right here on CCO.
The one real estate agent that really gets results, John Schuster of the